Hey everybody, and happy Friday. Hopefully everybody's ending out the week on a positive and productive footing, and we're back again for another ASUS PCDIY hardware live stream. We've got a few things to be able to jump into in terms of this week's announcements. A few, of course, just general updates in terms of course, PCDIY-centric updates with things like the UEFI BIOS announcements. And we're also going to be diving into a couple of maybe a little bit teasers and some general kind of product updates for some stuff that's not yet ready to go ahead and launch, but will be coming out in the not too distant future with 3 ROG Graphics Cards holders, which I'm pretty excited to talk about, which are going to include the ROG STRIX graphics card holder, the ROG Wingwall, and then we're also going to have the ROG Herculex. So for some of you that checked out our kind of earlier CES 2022 initial kind of live stream, we talked about it there, and we gave you a little bit of preview, but here we're going to just kind of retouch on those 3 units, which are going to be coming out in the not too distant future. We're going to give you a little bit more details on, of course, the upcoming TUF Gaming aRGB 120mm base fans, as well as the multi-pack, and then also just maybe a little bit more information on the TUF Gaming GT502 chassis, which some of you might have picked up when you guys checked out some of the preview images that we dropped in the PCDIY group for the, of course, upcoming TUF Gaming 120mm fans. So let's go ahead and see who we have joining us here on the stream. Hey, Michael, it's always fantastic to have you on the stream. Thanks so much for joining us here. Joshua, hey, thanks so much for joining us here on the stream as well. Happy to have you here as well. No updates yet in terms of the PG27AQN. As always, if you're looking for the latest updates, make sure to just join us here on Fridays when we do have essentially availability or new announcements for generally any products. I do cover them here. The most kind of timely updates will always happen in the PCDIY group because that happens pretty much on a daily basis, as well as you can also go ahead and check out the PCDIY release product release calendar, which is a linked featured announcement, which I'll generally update about every 10 to 14 days or so. So that's also a good way to be able to go ahead and keep up to date on any products that haven't necessarily been released, but they've gone ahead and already been announced. Hey, Suman, happy to have you here also on the stream. Geek Bent Guy, always good to have you here. Hey, Snef, looking forward to your fantastic build for this PCDIY Builder Spotlight, man. As always, thanks so much for joining us. Hey, Erica, happy to have you here. Thanks so much for joining us on this Friday and letting us know audio is good. And we've also got a little bit of a whoop whoop and a hey guys from David. So let's get ready to go ahead and kick things off. Hey, Connor, thanks so much. As always, happy to have you here on the stream. So let's get ready to go ahead and kick things off with some, I guess, UEFI BIOS updates, as I think are first going to go ahead and touch on. Not too many updates. I'll have the actual featured kind of post announcement in the ASUS PCDIY group up a little bit later today. The vast majority of the actual updates are really going to be centered around an updated microcode for Intel series motherboards, recent Intel series motherboards, so 600 series. And most of those are generally going to be applicable to users that are going to probably be considering jumping up to Intel's latest generation Core i9 12900KS KS series CPU. So if you already have an older UEFI and you were to get the CPU and you were to drop it in, the board actually will post. But if you want to have kind of the best overall performance and the overall best experience, you do want to go ahead and update to the latest UEFI. We do have a full video on our YouTube channel, which actually covers step by step how to update the UEFI BIOS if you've never gone through it. And I also do recommend that if you want a little bit more kind of insight into how to update your UEFI or some questions, if you should update your UEFI BIOS, we do have a featured post announcement that I have an FAQ doc in, which is really good reading to kind of help you better understand some of the things you might want to keep in mind if you are going to update your UEFI BIOS. Let me go ahead and just show you what that specific release is for those of you that may be interested in maybe upgrading to this 12900KS. And for some of you out there that are checking us out, what are your thoughts on now having a CPU that can effectively turbo all the way up to 5.5 gigahertz? That's pretty crazy. I mean, you could definitely already do that. Here, right, I have a 12900K, and I showed you guys with our AIOC overclocking demo, we were effectively actually able to do that. I've actually been able to do a little bit of tinkering and actually get up to a 5.6 based overclock. So it's not like you were necessarily limited in terms of doing a really dynamic, nice all-core overclock. The way I look at kind of the KS CPU is just giving you a little bit of that kind of additional overclocking headroom, but kind of an out-of-the-box experience. So it's nice in that regard, but I think it's going to be more tailored, not necessarily as an upgrade for those of you that, of course, already have something like a 12700 or 12900, but more likely for those of you that might be maybe building a system and are just kind of trying to get that best out-of-the-box experience, right? If you didn't want to tune anything. But keep in mind, I think definitely with ASUS AIOC, you can definitely get essentially the same kind of clock speeds, right, with the 12900K, 12700K, just by enabling that and by having a reasonable quality cooler. But let's go ahead and take a look here and show you essentially what it would look like if you did go through the process. Pretty straightforward. So you can see we're now on our Maximus Z690 Hero website. We would just head over to the support tab. And once we head over to the support tab, just head over to drivers and tools. And then you're going to go over to the BIOS and firmware. And you'll see that the update was released actually at the beginning of this month on the 1st. And you'll see 1403. And you'll see right there, Core i9 12900KS support. So you do want to make sure to have that update in place if you're looking to essentially get the best experience from the CPU. One other thing to keep in mind is that if you are maybe running just an older build, some people have not necessarily realized that for the newer 600 series, we have issued a couple of other important updates. And those are going to be down here at the bottom where you'll see under firmware. So there's been a firmware update for the USB audio controller that's on the motherboards. And then also you'll see that there's Intel ME firmware. And if you're also running a much older release, so if let's say we were to go over here to all downloads, there's a few users that I see that are still somewhere in this kind of older 800 series release, which was pretty close to kind of the initial launch. You definitely would want to consider upgrading to a minimum. My recommendation on 600 series would be at least that 1000 series base build, because as you see, it updates the USB PD firmware, updates the Intel Management Engine firmware, updates the Thunderbolt. If your motherboard has that, it enhances performance and stability for Windows 11. So that's my base recommendation. But really, I do recommend the latest release, because also you'll see there later on, we did also update the Aura RGB controller firmware. And that's something that some people don't realize, that actually all our motherboards that do feature RGB have an actual RGB controller. It's actually a physical chip. Some people just think that there's kind of LEDs and there's software, but there's not actually management. And there is actually certain firmware that has to be run on a special microcontroller that's on the motherboard. So on occasion, we will actually update the firmware for that controller to improve performance, sometimes affects kind of functionality, and some other variables. So I do always recommend that if there's kind of a wide level of Aura kind of implementation in your build, then you would want to have that most up-to-date Aura-enabled firmware. So that covers us there. Let's quickly go ahead and just see if we got any questions on that side. If not, we'll jump into some of our next notes. Well, let's see what we got going on right here. Hey, Dev. Dev's asking us here, as my question is X99 still a good system to build on in 2022? Well, it's a pretty dated chipset at this time. And of course, it's already kind of behind the curve because it was replaced by the X299 based chipset. If you talk about, though, fundamentally still from a performance perspective, it's still a capable platform, definitely depending on the CPU that you were putting on an X99 board. You're still running with good memory density, a pretty good frequency. You still had good expansion support. X99 also did support PCIe based storage devices. So I would still say that if you kind of already have an X99 system and you're upgrading it, you can still probably get a pretty good lifespan out of it. I'd say at least for about another year or two. You're generally not going to be super limited, especially also if you're willing to kind of overclock that CPU a little bit to kind of make up for the fact that the clock frequencies are now going to be a little bit weaker. But The big benefit is what you see is from a gaming perspective. Really, now where you want to be at is the kind of 4-core, 8 threads, and now you're starting to really move into the baseline being 6-core and 12 threads, and that was still possible on X99. So in that scenario, if you can have essentially a good enough number of cores and you're hitting a consistent enough higher frequency, I'd still say you get a healthy level of performance. That being noted, you definitely upgrading to a modern platform, even in the mid-range. If you were to upgrade to something like a Ryzen 5600X or an Intel like 12600K, would actually be a pretty sizable bump up in terms of overall system performance and kind of core specifications on the motherboard side. But again, if you're upgrading, still I'd say it's not going to be that quote unquote slow of a system. You could still definitely get healthy experience from it. All right. Let me go ahead and see if we got any other questions there. Hey, Hanson, thanks. Yeah, this is just my little set top build right here that kind of have for just kind of general purposes in terms of kind of little setup. Let me kind of just tweak that a little bit there to the side there. And let me tweak that out there. All right, there we go. That looks just a little bit better. And we'll go from there. Case, if you're wondering about this case you can't even get anymore. This is actually a benchtop case, and it actually is designed to sit this way, but I flipped it up vertically, and I liked it just because it was transparent. This was actually from a great manufacturer that we used to work with a while back ago, but they're no longer out there. They're called Danger Den. They were a cool company. Yes, this is actually live. Okay. Let's go ahead and see any other questions that we got there. Hey, Jason, happy to have you here on the stream so much. Thanks for joining us as well. See, we got maybe one other question right here. Carl Sims is asking us, I have an ROG STRIX Z690-E Wi-Fi build, have 2 PCIe SSDs and 1 PCI 3. So I'm assuming a Gen 4 and a Gen 3. Any thoughts on which slots to install them, or does it really matter? The truth is, it doesn't really matter. Now, with Z690, you're going to have one dedicated slot that's going to come directly from the CPU, and it doesn't matter essentially if you then install a graphics card, that slot is going to have 4 lanes guaranteed from the CPU. So you're going to be good to go in that regard. The bigger question is whether or not you would want to use other slots that are going to either be linked to the CPU or going to be linked to the chipset. If you use slots that are linked to the chipset, the slots that are linked to the chipset have a little bit lower latency, but for Z690 are still going to be PCI Gen 4, and they'll just run backwards in PCI Gen 3 if you're using, a Gen 3 drive on a Gen 4 slot. Regardless of kind of the permutations of whether you were to use CPU link lanes or whether you were chipset based lanes, in real world usage, most drives are generally operating under only a few hundred megabytes in terms of overall kind of throughput. You're really actually not using a large amount of the bandwidth the drives need. So in terms of real world application performance, outside of you physically kind of running a benchmark and stress testing your drive, you won't see a general difference between the two. So you can really use it. For some users that are really critical and they want to run by 16 for their graphics, I would recommend that your secondary drives be linked on chipset based slots. That would be your kind of preferred option. And I get this question a lot in the community. I get it. I don't know how often I get it, but I get this type of question a lot of times. So let me just go ahead and show you how you can pretty much reference this information yourself. Okay. If you were to go to the motherboard page, right? So here you can see we're at the Z690 page. You're going to go to tech specs, and you can also look in the manual. Both of them will actually kind of give you this information. The manual might maybe break it down a little bit easier. So let's go with the manual. And we're going to download the manual quickly here, and we'll open this up. So if I scroll down, you're essentially going to want to look for the spec information for the board, and that will help you to kind of break everything down. So if you'll see right here under storage, it tells you, it says M.21, M.22, right? And on the top, it's 12th gen processors. That's meaning that actually those slots are linked to the actual CPU. So your primary slot would be linked. Your secondary slot would be linked. The Hyper M.2 card could also be linked directly to that, right? But then if you look under the Z690 chipset, you'll see that slots 2, right? Excuse me, this slot 3, or the Hyper M.2 card, if you were to slot it into a different PCI slot, would then run off the chipset. So that's essentially how you know which ones you're going with, right? And if you then physically look at a layout, a section for the motherboard, we do break that down to you very clearly. So let's go down to the motherboard picture. So you'll see that the motherboard picture actually shows you right here. Again, we can zoom in. You can see M.2_1, which we remember that was going to be linked to the CPU. and then you can see M.2_2 and M.2_3. So you can see this motherboard clearly helps us kind of know where we're linking that, because we just look back at that table and we can reference that information. So hopefully that answers your question. All right. Will ASUS, Suman's asking, will ASUS supplier, can we buy another cable for the PSU 10, excuse me, for the Thor 1000 watt? I'm not sure what you mean. We don't sell the cables individually. So whatever the cables you get, I mean, the 1000 watt series CPU already comes with some very nice individually received cables, and then another set of standard kind of cables that are inside the box to cover pretty much every single type of build configuration. If for some reason you wanted some other specific type of cable, I don't know, maybe like a single straight cable or something like that, depending on your aesthetic purposes or some layout purpose. My recommendation is generally consider Cable Mods. They're a great partner that works with us, and they have validated designs that are pin compatible with all of our Thor series power supplies. So you pretty much just have to put in your model, and you can go ahead and get that specific cable that will work with the power supply. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and see anything else right there. 12 pin 2. Yeah, so no, the Thor 2s will actually have like a running revision where later we'll be shipping actually in the box a native PCI, essentially a 16-pin PCI, that kind of next generation PCI Express power connector. But right now, because the power supply is actually coming out before the specification can kind of been fully finalized, you won't actually have that cable base present. I can't 100% give you all the details right now, because I still think that we're working with our service team. But I believe our PM and our service team are going to be tempting to see that customers that right now buy the Thor 2 power supply, because it is a PCI Gen 5 based power supply, may be able to actually get that cable by then contacting our services support team, and we'll send that cable out to you. So if you kind of want to run it with the cable configuration that already comes with, I believe you already purchased a 3090 Ti, which already comes with the essentially 16 pin to 3 8-pin cable adapter inside the box. You would be good to go. You can just use those cables, as everything comes inside the box and comes with the power supply. But if you want one single cable, you have to wait for that cable to come out. And either one, you could wait for, like I said, ordering one that's very nice from Cable Mods, or you could wait for the one that will end up packaging in with the Thors a little bit later. I don't know what the exact timeline is. And like I said, I don't believe that we formally have rolled out that kind of to our service and support team yet. But a little bit in the future, that should be coming. Okay. All right. So hopefully that answers that question. Let's go ahead and jump into our next update here. And that's actually going to be just a quick promotion update that I want to go ahead and touch on, guys. It's going to be pretty cool. And that's going to be for this guy right here. This is definitely one of my favorite mice that we have in terms of our ROG lineup right here. This is the ROG Keris. I'm going to do just a little bit of a quick kind of showcase on this guy. Some of you that maybe have checked out the stream in the past are already aware of it, but right now we have a really great promo price on it. The wireless version is right now $65, and the wired version is $45. So if you talk about actually a price point, it's a really great promotion. And this is now pretty much rolled out, I believe, across multiple channels. So not only from the ASUS store, but also, from Amazon and from many other e-tailers that should actually have this pricing. And it's going to be running, I believe, until about the end of this month, not until the entire end of the month, maybe until about, I think, the 24th approximately. But this was originally, when it was launched, it was over $100. And right now, like I said, being able to get it for $65, a really, really great price. So let's go ahead and just kind of take a little bit of a closer look at it right here. This is it right here. Sadly, I wore a black shirt, so you can't actually see a little bit of the design, but I will put it under the secondary camera. This is actually a lightweight mouse, 79 grams for the wireless version. And then for the wired version comes at even less. It's going to be a super ultra lightweight mouse coming in at 62 grams. So the wireless version, which I want to show off here, is going to be a 3-mode based mouse, which means that it'll support wireless, Bluetooth, and USB-C. So all of those connections. The USB-C, it's using the new ROG paracord cable, which is a super soft weighted cable. You might be surprised to know this, but we actually spent a very long amount of time on the research and development for this cable. We actually worked specifically to develop a new braiding pattern and textile weave, which was super soft. And so that allows just for a really nice level of movement. If you kind of just look here on the desk, the reason why we spent so much time on it is that we wanted that cable to have very, very minimal drag. So when you go ahead and move this around, it's really smooth, really lightweight, and it doesn't obstruct you. On top of that, the actual USB-C port that's on here, compared to some other mice, it's actually slightly offset and it's lifted. And the reason why is that when you then put in the cable, we wanted to ensure that that portion wasn't essentially hitting the base of the surface, which would create more drag. And that is really complementary because this mouse comes with our ROG Omni feet. So the Omni feet are new types of skates that we developed that came out with the Keris and also came out with the Gladius 3. And so that's for these guys right here. They were brand new, 100% PTFE, very large, and specifically at 4 corners, and then also in the center where the sensor is. And we actually measured this against other competitors, and it had outstanding kind of movement performance. So moves really, really nicely across a wide range of surfaces, regardless of whether you're using something hard, whether you're using kind of semi-hard, whether you're using like a polymer composite like our Baltius, or you're going with something like a textile weave like our Sheath or a Scabbard, or some other kind of gaming mouse mat. So I'm going to go ahead and just put this under the secondary cam. Again, right now it is on promo. I will bring up the site here in a second, but $65 for the ROG Keris wireless, and then $45 for the wired version. And again, very high specifications. When we're talking actually about the specs for this mouse, it's pretty high up there. You're talking about 16,000 DPI, 400 IPS. It is going to be no acceleration. You can have customizable LOD, 3 onboard memory profiles on this unit. So really, really nice. Let's go ahead and throw this up here on our secondary cam. Take a little bit of a closer look. And if you guys have any questions on it, feel free and let me know. Let me go ahead and just get that centered up there in the shot. So, and I will check comments right here. So here you can see this is the mouse up close. Looks really nice. This is the body. You can see one zone of RGB right there, another zone of RGB lighting. The actual buttons right here, these are PBT, which we newly developed specifically to test out kind of on the Keris. The benefit of PBT is just like on switches on a keyboard, is that they're going to resist wear and abrasion. So you're not going to get shine. And they give you a little bit of subtle kind of grip, which is nice as well. I think that they feel really nice. This body, it's going to be about semi-ambidextrous. And what I mean by that is that it does have a little bit of a slight ergo, works well for claw and fingertip. And if you've got smaller size hands, then I think it all covers you pretty well for palm. I'll show you how it looks here in my hand, but I've got pretty large hands. You can see I'm 6'2", so this for me would probably be a little bit small in terms if you were to try to use palm, but you can see if I go with a little bit more of a finger grip or claw, it works well. You then have 2 side buttons right there, and these are customizable. You can swap them. They're different inside the box, right? And you can see those feet that I talked about. These are the Omni feet. Here's the wireless dongle right there, which you can go ahead and dock in. And then you've got the option right there to switch to 2.4 gigahertz. That is 1 millisecond gaming grade wireless. You also have NVIDIA reflex certification, 1,000 hertz polling if you use the USB-C, Bluetooth, and then the toggle for switching it off. 4-level DPI button right there at the bottom, right? And then the pairing button, right? So that is going to be the mouse, and then a really nice encoder. So in a moment here, we're going to go ahead and take even a little bit of a closer look on the inside. So let me go ahead and open this guy up for you here. Hey, Masar, thanks so much for using this. Yes, Michael, this does entirely have, yes, let's see right here. So a couple of questions is, yes, I'm going to show that right now in terms of that you actually have the ability to swap out the switches on this mouse. So it's pretty simple. You'll see that there's kind of these 2 little rubber nubs right here. You just pull out the little rubber nubs and you'll see that there's 2 screws. So I'm going to go ahead and take my screwdriver right here, remove these screws, and this is a great feature. It doesn't matter whether you're talking about Logitech, Razer, SteelSeries, Corsair. None of them have this feature or function that allows you to swap out the switches without pretty much kind of ripping open the mouse and desoldering the switch. Yes, in terms of this, fully does support RGB lighting and customization and ASUS or Sync. Geekbench guy asks, are the actual mouse switches optical? No, these use our very premium high-grade mechanical micro switches, but we do actually have mice that do support optical switches, like the Gladius 3 and the Chakram X would both support actually optical micro switches. All right. You can see I removed those 2 screws, right? And from there, I can just pull off the shell, and you'll see that you have right there access to the micro switches, right? And you could go ahead and pull out the micro switch. We do give you a little bit of a tool, but it's actually pretty easy. You can see right there, I just pulled out the micro switch, and then I can swap it back in there really easily. These right here are our premium ROG micro switches rated for 70 million clicks. They also have a gold plating junction on the inside, which helps to reduce things like double click and oxidation, which can cause failure kind of earlier than a lower grade switch. So they are very, very nice and premium in that regard. And you can see just very easy to kind of swap that out and change it out. And then from there, if you were done, just go ahead and pop that back in place and you're good to go. Do I have? Yeah. Okay. I have them right here. You can see here's just kind of some of the choices. If you did want to kind of go with changing out kind of your micro switches, there's a lot of different types of micro switches that you can go with. So, you know, these are KLGM4s. The actual ROG micro switches are even higher performing than these. Probably the closest micro switch would be something like this, which would be like a GM8, right? These are the ROG micro switches right here. And here's some, these are, I think, white dot Huanwo switches. These are GM 2.0 switches. These actually are pretty interesting. These are Cherry MX based mouse switches, right? And these are kind of your standard Japanese Omron micro switches. But the cool thing is you can swap out any one of those. You could put any one of those micro switches in this mouse if you wanted to go ahead and customize it. So that is just kind of like a little bit of a quick feature. You can see again just how easy it is to disassemble it. Nice lightweight body. Bam, docked it into place. Now I'm going to put my 2 screws back in. Actually, let me double check and make sure that I put the switch back in. And I think for the price point, again, $65 for this mouse, the wireless version, is an outstanding deal. And the build quality is really great on our ROG mice. They don't have kind of any creaking. They don't feel, you know, like they're going to flex. They have a really, really nice level of kind of construction and feel to them, where I think some other mice definitely are a little bit more variable in terms of that, their overall kind of construction quality. And if you even, like I said, you didn't want wireless and you even just wanted something even lighter weight, but that still had all the hardware-based design benefits of that high-quality sensor, the ROG micro switch, super lightweight base body, the Keris wireless version at $45, man, that is an outstanding option. So I just wanted to give you that, guys. Quick promo right here. And I forgot to note it. Another value add, again, for $65, that's pretty nice right here, is that inside the box, you actually get another pair of skates. So those are the actual ROG Omni Feet. And so like in a year, if you want to replace the skates, you can replace them. They already come inside the box. Normally, like another pair of replacement skates that are very good quality are going to cost about $5 to $8. That already comes inside the box. And you also get another secondary set of other switches inside there as well that you can kind of try out and you can kind of feel out and see if you like them. So that is, I think, a fantastic option. So hopefully you guys check that out. If you're not rocking an ROG mouse, maybe something to consider. Again, the ROG Keris wired and wireless right now on promo, you can get for either $65 or $45 right now. Hey, Angela, I'm really sorry to hear about your experience. Right, we don't have anybody here in terms of our first service and support team that can help to follow up with your issue. If you actually have, you know, more issues, please make sure to go ahead and reach out to our service and support team via the My ASUS app or the Contact Us option. We do actually have instant messaging options generally throughout the day up until about the end of the service day. So you can go ahead and reach us that way. We also even have an escalation option if you head over to our Contact Us page, where if you have an active RMA and you're looking for maybe a management level review, hopefully they can look into that and help you to resolve your issue and help to improve upon the experience that you've had. So hopefully that'll help to just give you a little bit more information and maybe help to resolve your issue. All right. Hey, Masar, I don't have any information when it comes to that, so wish I could go ahead and tell you anything more, but as of right now, I can't give you any details on any of our system-related products, okay? Hey, Tomoguchi, I believe, is asking white. We actually make a really large amount of white PC components. I don't know that there's any other manufacturer that makes more white PC components than us. We have white keyboards, we have white mice, we have white coolers, we have white power supplies, white graphics cards, white motherboards, white chassis, white headsets. I think almost every product category that we make has white in it. So when somebody says you need to make more white, I find that almost hard because white is actually the most expensive product to generally produce. It's the most poor in terms of the yield, in terms of output. And there's a lot of challenges. And while there's definitely been an increase in demand, it's still far is lower than traditional monochrome and black. So we definitely have continued to kind of escalate and I think offer a more broad level of white components. And we're definitely going to continue to do that. But, as far as whether it outpaces the traditional kind of color scheme, that's not going to be happening anytime soon. All right. So hopefully that covers that. Let's go ahead and get ready to jump into our next updates right here. So I talked about that cool little promo that we've got going on. I do want to also touch on quickly again, guys, if you guys have not taken advantage of it, we do have 2 great promotions that we do have going on in terms of some giveaways. So if you guys have not entered into those, please do make sure that you're taking advantage of them. So I think I have got the links right here. So let me go ahead and bring those up quickly. I will bring up those links. Yeah, we've got a few right here to just touch on really quick. And because I know everybody always is asking me, man, how can I get some free hardware? And, I think over the last just 2-3 months, we've had I don't know, more than 10, 12, 13, 14 giveaways, especially if we count giveaways that we've done with partners. So it pays to definitely follow our social media channels. It pays to follow attention to our announcements and things along those lines. So let me go ahead and just touch on these really quick right here. We, of course, have first and foremost our Game and Style promotion giveaway right here. So you've got the opportunity. Pretty much you just have to come up with kind of a cool way to be able to show off what you would want your kind of system and kind of environment to kind of look like. You've got a lot of different ways that you can go ahead and create that. So just go ahead and go through the submission form. Make sure to use the corresponding hashtags ROG Game and Style and ROG Motherboard. And you'll see already lots of people have gone ahead and made their submissions over here. It does not have to be a real system. You could do it in different ways in terms of actually kind of virtualizing and creating what you think you would want that system to look like. And you'll see there's some pretty awesome hardware combinations, including some pretty big price packs with something like here that just the top prize alone is a Z690 motherboard, a 360 Ryogen cooler, just like what I've got here, some G-Skill Trident RGB, 6000 MT memory, 3 ROG XF120 fans, and an RTX GeForce 3080 ROG STRIX edition graphics card, plus an IKEA $500 gift card. I mean, that's awesome, right? And that's just the first prize, right? Then there's a second prize, third prize, and we have 7 other prizes. So go ahead and take advantage of it. And I believe this is actually a worldwide giveaway too. So for those of you actually checking out the stream that have not gone in on it, make sure to get in on it. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that in the link right there for you guys if you guys want to check that out. We are also still running our ASUS Pro Artist Awards, which is a great space where if any of you are doing anything on the content creation side and you want to submit your entry under photography, graphic design, film, or animation, you can do that. Really big prize pool up to $100,000. $10,000 cash prize for the first place winner in each category. So that's $10,000 here, $10,000 here, $10,000 here, and $10,000 here. And that's outside of all the other prizing, of course, that we've got. And so again, all you need to do is just join and submit. So I will go ahead and drop that into the chat as well. Okay. Hey, Michael, thanks so much for being part of Team ASUS. Always fantastic to have that great kind of feedback from our users, okay? And lastly, something I just wanted to touch on too is that some people we've been noticing haven't necessarily always taken the most advantage of this, but we did partner with Adobe a while back in terms of having kind of a collaborative kind of promotion period where if you bought certain actually ASUS products, you actually would be able to get essentially kind of a promo period coupon that would come included for Adobe Creative Cloud. So I actually use Creative Cloud a lot. I have Creative Cloud that I use for Lightroom, for Photoshop, for Premiere, and also for Photoshop Express, and a few kind of other things. So it's great because normally it costs you, I think, about over $50 a month, just alone. And depending on some hardware that you purchase, you can actually get up to, I think, 3 months included. So yeah, you can see right here, 3 months of Creative Cloud, and you can stack this. So if you already have Creative Cloud and you're paying for it, you can essentially add that just to theirs, and you would get essentially that period for free. So you can see right here, we have laptops, desktops, mini PCs, motherboards, monitors, and projectors that all qualify. So an example, if I click on motherboards and you bought maybe a ProArt Z690 Creator Wi-Fi motherboard, you get a 3-month. So that's, $150, right? That you'll be talking about that actually comes included with that. And then there's also products that have a 1-month period. So you just have to click on, and you can see right here that a lot more of our products even come included with the 1 month, where you can see it's everything from a wide range of motherboards, even ROG motherboards, graphics cards, projectors, optical drives, even our cool little external SSDs that we have. So a lot of really cool stuff. Again, so if you haven't taken advantage of that promotion, then definitely take advantage of it, because it's, it eventually will expire. I think it doesn't expire until September, but it was a really cool kind of addition to be able to add a little bit more even value to the products when you do pick them up. Okay. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and keep moving things along here and get into our next update. All right. The UEFI BIOS updates, our Keris announcement, and then our promotional giveaways. All right, cool. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and drop in the chat. We do have a kind of a few different promotions that are going on for monitors. So we've got monitors that are going to have savings between $65 to about $65, including a few that I'm going to quickly just highlight on right here. But so I'm going to drop them all in the chat right here for you guys. Yeah, Dave, definitely. I'll go ahead and see if I can give some details on that in a little bit. Okay, that's no problem. And also, if you're not part of our PCDIY group, that's a great question to be able to ask in our group as far as that goes. I don't necessarily think you'd actually have to go with Xeon. If you're want to go for a Xeon with a specific reason, do keep in mind that you're going to be having a locked CPU as opposed to an unlocked CPU. It would be more sense to generally consider usually an X or a K series CPU for that platform, so that you could help to maximize kind of overclocking headroom, although Xeon wouldn't be necessarily a bad choice. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look right here at some of our promos, and we will go from there. So the first one is going to be this one right here, which is one of my favorite monitors. This is going to be the XG16AHP. And after we get through some of these promos, we're going to touch on some of our teasers, guys, because I know a lot of you are waiting for some of that information regarding the TUF Gaming GT502, as well as the TUF Gaming fans. So I just want to be able to quickly touch on these, and we'll go from there. So in 1 second, I go ahead and load these up really quick, because I do think that there's some pretty good promotions that we've got going on right here for these. Okay, got one more here to load up. All right. Oh, we actually have also a 32-inch. Okay, I didn't notice that one a little bit earlier. 32 inches, I think, they're a nice sweet spot, especially if kind of you've had a 27-inch for a while, and maybe you're looking for something that maybe just jumps up to having a little bit kind of a larger display. I definitely think that's a nice upgrade. So it's a nice jump in terms of overall just kind of giving you a little bit more screen state, right? So let's go ahead and take a look here. The first one is going to be the XG16A AHPE. This one has a $65 promo right now, so $329. So that's going to be this monitor right here. This is a portable based display. The cool thing about it is that it's a gaming grade really display. So it's going to be 15.6 inches, 1920 by 1080. It's a 144 hertz panel and an IPS-based panel, and even supports NVIDIA G-Sync compatibility. You do have to make sure that the display out that you connect this to, whether it's going to be a laptop or a desktop, does actually support the G-Sync output on that. On desktop, it's pretty much a guarantee if you have, of course, an NVIDIA-based graphics card. But on a laptop, you do need to double check that the actual output does support essentially adaptive sync. It supports G-Sync, so do keep that in mind. This one is a really cool addition though, because it has a 7800 milliamp battery built in to it. So that means it's truly a portable monitor. So it can power itself directly just from the actual battery that's on the inside. It has a kickstand, USB-C connection, right? Micro HDMI. So that means you could also just plug just about anything into this, right? The USB-C can be used as actually a display connection, but the micro HDMI allows you to connect this to like a mirrorless camera, to a console, to any type of device that has an HDMI output. So it just gives you flexibility. And then you also have an ESS DAC and amp built into this, which is great in terms of just giving you an improvement for the audio experience as well. So do keep in mind that that is also going to give you some benefits, and we'll show that kind of just here in a moment. So you can actually see right here, it's got that cool little kickstand that gives you the flexibility. You could use this as an actual desktop monitor, right? Where you could have it side propped up there. Maybe you wanted to have it, just for referencing some images, maybe email, text, chat, forum information, whatever it might be. Or of course, like I said, this makes a great option to just throw in your bag, especially with the price reduction. It's great. And I love the fact that you get the best of both worlds here. You get a nice high quality IPS based display with good colors, but you're also going to get a fast and responsive panel, right? So you get that nice little sleeve to also keep it protected, a little storage option right there for the cables that you're going to need to have everything included with it, right? Again, you have that flexibility to be able to go with different connections with HDMI or the USB-C connection, that big battery, along with that quick charging experience, which is really great, where you can see in 1 hour, you can 60% charge the battery, which is really, really nice, right? You can see all the level of flexibility in terms of all the connections right there with the micro HDMI, the USB-C that you have available to you, and that headphone jack. The headphone jack is really cool because that means that you can still connect an analog headphones if you're kind of out and want to be able to kind of have a great viewing experience, but not actually have to listen or kind of create obstructions or noise for the people that are going to be around you, right? Very thin, 11.8 millimeters at 900 grams, right? And this is cool too here. So you get both worlds. You can take off the headphones, use the speakers on the monitor, and then from there you can switch back and you can plug in your headphones and you would be good to go. So this is a really, really cool, I think, great portable display that I think it's just, like I said, a great addition, especially if you just want the flexibility to be able to have something you connect to your laptop, to a console, to a phone, to a desktop, whatever it might be, and have a nice high quality secondary display. For the price point, I think it's really, really reasonable. So again, right now you can get this one on promo. And let me see, the promo price on this one is going to be $70 off right now that you can get, essentially. So normally $400, and right now you can get it for $329. And that's going to be from Walmart, from BestBuy.com, from B&H, and from Adorama. All of those are running that promo right now, where you can get the XG right here on promo, $70 savings. And let me see if I can go ahead and put in just the links right here. Okay. So that would be for that monitor right there. Okay. Next up right here, we're going to go through these a little bit quicker. That was the main one that I wanted to be able to touch on right here. But we've got the VG278QR, which has got a nice $20 savings to it. That is going to be this monitor right here. So you can actually see, and this one's already directly available from the ASUS store. This is a great monitor for those that are looking for something that's a little bit large. You don't have kind of a lot of money, but you want to be able to maybe upgrade to just a high refresh rate, fast monitor. So this is 27 inches, 165 hertz, low response time, right? It's going to be essentially 1 millisecond response time, G-Sync compatibility, and still has 4-way ergonomic adjustment. It's actually pretty hard to find a very good quality kind of high refresh rate, low response at that around that $200-ish price point. This is a really solid option for those that are kind of really looking for a monitor that's really focused towards competitive kind of first-person shooter and motion clarity experience. So this would be my bet. We have a similar model in the TUF Gaming, which is just a little bit more, which I think is also a really solid option, which is also going to be a little bit brighter. But I think this, for the price point right here, is a very nice option. Okay, so that's going to be the VG. And the other thing too is that, don't forget here, this is 27 inches compared to a lot of times in this price bracket, you're generally going to be looking at a little bit of a smaller display, so something maybe like 24 inches. Okay. Let's see here. Similar, this is going to be right here, this monitor, the VG259QM. You take the trade-off from going from 27 to 24.5, but you go to a fast IPS display, so better color quality, better viewing angles, and 280 hertz, right? In terms of overclockable display, 1 millisecond gray to gray, and a brighter base panel. Plus, you still maintain the ergonomics. And this one, let me double check. I don't remember if this one has display widget. So let me see if this one has display widget. This one does not have display widget. Okay, but this a great quality monitor, a little bit more, but again, this is going to be more beneficial to those of you that might have a GPU that can, of course, render, of course, that refresh rate experience at not only that 144, but 240 or even 280, right? So just keep in mind that you're going to be paying a little bit more for that. In terms of just kind of the load that's going to be on your graphic card. So you would want to be mindful of that. And that one is right now $50 savings, normally $299, but $50 off. And you can get that at B&H and Autorama. Is that right? Yep. Okay. So that one's on promo. Let's see here. We've got the ROG STRIX XG27AQM, one of my favorite monitors in our lineup, 27 inches, 1440p, fast IPS, 270 hertz, very low response time, 1 millisecond gray to gray response time, G-Sync compatibility, display HDR 400. This one also does support display widget, has also ELMB sync, which is our backlight strobing technology, which can work with adaptive sync for better motion clarity. And it also has our new black base. And it's also compatible with the desk mount kit. So the desk mount kit is a cool C-clamp adaptive kit. So you can put that at the bottom. So if you didn't want to eat into your desk at all, it would just clamp at the back of your desk. That is a really, really nice addition right there to actually our modern light up. And that one, that's a pretty nice savings. That one is going to be $70 off right now. So normally that's $699 and you can get it for $630. So pretty sweet price at that one. And let me see right here. We got what else do we have? Okay, so we got two left right here. Bring it up here. Okay, yeah, we've got the TUF Gaming VG279QM. So this is going to be 27 inches. Overclockable right here. So this one's essentially kind of like the larger version of the one that we talked about, which is the 24.5, but pretty much all the other same specification, right? So that one is also on promo. And then we have the VG32VQ. So this is going to be a little bit different right here. This VQ, you can see right here, you're going with a curved monitor. So if somebody's been maybe looking for a curved display, 32 inches, 1440p, which is really nice. That's, again, that sweet spot in terms of desktop productivity. Really nice monitor resolution for most graphics cards in terms of being able to render. Still high refresh rate. Not going to be as fast as some of the other panels, but still 1 milliseconds MPRT. So that's going to be, usually in the range of about like 4 to 8 milliseconds about there as far as gray to gray. And you still get ergonomic adjustments. So let me check and see what the savings is on those two. For the VG279QM, that's going to be $50 off. And then for that VG32VQ, which is the curved monitor, that's $70 off. So you can get it for $300. So instead of $370, you can get it for $300. And for the VG279QM, that one's going to be $50 off. Yep. All right. So let me go ahead and just drop those in there for anybody that's interested in those. All right. Okay, guys, that takes care of all of pretty much our promos there for the monitors. So we are pretty much now ready to get in some of the teasers. Let me just see if there was any questions that kind of came up right there. Do the new screen. I'm not sure what you mean, Evo. If you can clarify your question, I can try to see if I can answer it. So if you can clarify it, that would be great. Hey, Masar, is there? Yes, there is going to be a wireless version. We'll have two versions of the scope that'll be wireless. We'll have a TTL version, and then we'll have a standard full-size version. And there'll be ones with ROG NX switches, and the ones that'll also be with RX optical switches. So coming in the not too distant future. Okay. All right. So let's get ready to move this along, and we will keep going to now our next update, which is going to be right here. All right, let's bring this up to. All right, what do you guys think? I'm gonna let you guys control. Do you guys want to talk about the TUF Gaming aRGB fan, or do you want to talk about the graphics card holders? We got. I'm gonna give it 5-second countdown. Go ahead and in the chat, let me know. Do you want the graphics cards holders, or do you want the TUF Gaming 120 millimeter fan? And we'll jump into those. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we'll see. Oh, we got fan, holder, GPU holder, card holders. Oh, Sniff, I'm sorry. Sniff wanted the fans. I'm more excited about the fans, but the community wins. So we're going to go with the graphics card holders. So let's go with the GPU holders first. Okay. All right. So we're going to go with the first newer one that's a little bit newer than, of course, the other two, which we have talked about previously. So we are going to be offering 3 total graphics card holders. And they're essentially going to be first is the ROG STRIX graphics card holder. So notice that this one does not have a name. This is kind of similar to what happens with some of our ROG STRIX versus kind of our ROG products, where ROG products sometimes tend to have a name and then ROG STRIX don't necessarily have a name, right? So here we can go ahead and take a look, and I'll show you the product page in a moment. You can see this one has a little bit more of the styling that you'll notice that is similar to, of course, the ROG Strix products, where ROG products generally don't have kind of a little bit more of the stylized kind of lines that you'll see that are on the ROG Strix. So I'd say ROG Strix is a little bit more edgy, a little bit kind of more dynamic, also tends to be a little bit more focused in terms of colorful. Now, these are aRGB lighting, so the aRGB lighting is something that you can, of course, change, right? But that is going to be a difference between the two. And we'll show you kind of a little bit more of the design differences, right? Of course, this is metal. This would sit in terms of your PCIe slot. And then you can see right here, this tension knob, that's what you can actually adjust to be able to go ahead and I believe 15 millimeters. So you can compensate for the height adjustment where you would want it to sit in relation to the graphics card, right? So give you a couple of little just kind of different shots. You can see just how it looks right there. Got a cool kind of little acrylic based display, and there will be a difference, right, when we compare this to the Wingwall, which the Wingwall is going to be actually larger in terms of the Z height. It'll be taller, but it also will come with actually a secondary acrylic plate, which will allow you actually for more customization. And so that's where you'll see that there'll be a difference between the two. And so that's going to be the first offering, which is going to be the ROG Strix graphics card holder. So let me go ahead and bring up the page for that, and I will link that also in the chat. So if anybody wants to check those out, they can. And I'm going to put the Wingwall also kind of side by side so that we can also kind of just see how those look and they differ. Okay, there we go. So if you take a look right here, this is the ROG Strix graphics card holder, and this is the Wingwall. And so you can see that there's actually a difference right here in terms of the actual look and feel for this. So this has got a thicker, heavier feel to it. You'll see that the actual ROG logo is different in terms of the actual topography that's used, right? Where here, this is our standard kind of clean ROG type topography, and this is kind of our more edgy cyberpunk type topography, right? The also acrylic, it looks different right here with just a large clean logo, which will line up a little bit more with kind of the ID patterns that you have on the Maximus or the Crosshair series of boards, where this type of design is more complementary to this ROG Strix series of boards. But they'll all look great together, and they have RGB lighting, and you have that same little tension knob that's right there that can be adjusted between the two, right? So let's go ahead and drop that link in their chat there for you. And let me go ahead and just finish looking at that page right there so you guys can see it right here. But there it is, and you'll see there it lights up. It is fully aRGB compatible, so you just plug that into a corresponding header, and that will allow you to go ahead and take advantage of the Aura RGB lighting effects. And of course, this does fully support ASUS Aura Sync. You just connect it to the header, and then you would be able to have the Aura Sync support. And release on this one probably going to be in the round, hopefully the same time frame as the others, going to be sometime later this month. And I'll have a kind of specific post and announcement in the group once we're ready to go ahead and launch it. Okay, so that is going to be the first one with the ROG STRIX graphics card holder. Now let's get ready to go into the second one, and I will check the anybody's questions there in a moment. Now we're going to go and take a look here at the Wingwall. And I think I have images right here for the Wingwall. Yep, okay. So this is the Wingwall right here. You'll see, like I said, it has a different kind of design language, different typography. And then right there, you can see the metal. You can see the tension knob adjustment right there. And you'll notice that there's some additional screws because this one is going to be allow you to go ahead and swap things out and customize it. Now you can see a little bit of that kind of cool patterning, which I think is really cool, that the actual dots, they're not dots, they're actually ROG, which I think is pretty slick. I think that's a nice little kind of subtle detail. And you can see right here, you've got the different plate, right? So right there, see your different accessories that are included there for the customization. There's the plate, and there's the other plate. So you'll have a nice level of flexibility here. So let me go ahead and just show you what that looks like there. So you see, this is the kind of key difference here with the Wingwall, is that secondary acrylic plate. You have the ability to customize it. So you have these different options, which allow you to go and kind of do it yourself. Or for those of you that are super creative, you can go and you can do it yourself, which I think is really cool. So again, I'm just going to show that to you one more time. So you can see, go with what you want, or you can customize it yourself. Or if you didn't want that, then you could pretty much just keep it bare. And if you just wanted kind of like a clean, nice RGB effect, right? So that is your choice, up to you in terms of, pretty much how you want to implement that. And for some of you that have been smart and you've seen an image that I've shared, you'll know that the Wingwall will also come in a white edition. So you'll see right there, we will offer this one in white and we'll offer it in black. So you'll be able to get it in 2 different colors, okay? So let's see if we have any questions there on the Wingwall or the STRIX. And I will go ahead and share the link right here in a moment here for the Wingwall as well. And again, this one is also fully ASUS Aura Sync. So you can see right here, this is how kind of the RGB lighting pattern can look on it once it's actually installed. And then you can see right there how the tension knob can be kind of tweaked to make an adjustment depending on where you position it on your graphics card. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and see any questions that we got right here. So Rusty's really liking the white. He thinks it looks pretty slick. I think it does look really, really nice. Mark is asking, will it be compatible with another graphics card? Yeah, these are just graphics card holders. They're, while I would love to see them being used with an ASUS graphics card, you can use them on any graphics card. It doesn't matter. So it could be from any manufacturer. It could be used with a Founders Edition. It doesn't matter. You just need to make sure that it physically has clearance in terms of not hitting like a fan or something like that. But it's not made to be kind of proprietary. And the cable is a standard aRGB cable, so it can connect to any motherboard that has aRGB lighting support. DevTrend, he likes the way that it looks. That's pretty slick. Michael also thinks that's looking good. Thanks, Michael, for the feedback. Yuki is also saying he really likes the way it looks. Hey, H2O Computers, what do you think? Do you like the actual Wingwall? Do you think it looks pretty cool? So David is asking for the ROG STRIX. No, it does not come. See, that's the difference, right? The Wingwall is bigger. It has the acrylic plate and it has the customizable stickers, and it comes with white. So that's the Wingwall. That's the reason why that's a more premium model. So cost, The ROG STRIX will be the most entry-level model. Think about that kind of like just a basic graphic card holder, which looks nice, has the ROG design with the RGB lighting. The Wingwall allows for more customization, right? So it's a more premium product and it's a little bit more kind of nicely designed. So that's going to be the most expensive. And then the most advanced model will be the Herculex, okay? So let's go ahead and show this off. And now we're going to go to the last one, which, of course, I know a lot of people have really dig this one since we originally showed this one off, which is going to be the Herculex. So let's go ahead and take a look at this one right here. So this is going to be the Herculex. So the Herculex will have a kind of the most kind of stylized display. So full coverage, really, really nice aRGB lighting display on there. It has an actual integrated spirit bubble level that you can actually remove right here. And then you can see it has a multi-point level adjustment system so that you can go ahead and make adjustments in a lot of granularity. And it also will work with chassis where you don't have to link it into the PCI Express slot. So this would pretty much just sit at the base of the chassis, and then you could move it up, right? So that is the way that the Herculex works. And here you can see an example of it actually installed in a system, right? Where you can see here, this is within a Helios. Even though the Helios has a graphics card holder in here, we're just using this as a reference, right? But you'll see right there, and then it pushes that up and we're good to go, right? There's a little bit of an external shot of kind of what it could look like in a cool looking system, right? And there's kind of another shot right there. And so here we'll take a look at a little bit of animation for the Herculex. Should have that actually. Thought I had a little animation here. Give me 1 second. Oh, yeah, okay. This one should be, sorry, there we go. So you see right there, you can make your adjustments. You've got the bubble level. You can actually double check it, make sure that everything's good. And then from there, you can pop the level back in, or if you don't want the level, then you don't have to keep it in. So we'll just go ahead and show that to you just one more time, just so you guys can take a look right there. So this one I think is really cool. It has a little bit more of a stylized kind of design. And again, the lighting pattern looks really, really nice on this model right here. So this is going to be, like I said, for those that don't necessarily want to have something that links directly into the PCI Express slot, and they're just going to be pressing directly up against the base of a system, right? All right, so that is going to be essentially the the 3 different graphics cards holders that we are going to be offering. So again, the ROG Strix graphics card holder, the ROG Wingwall, and then the ROG Herculex. So those are going to be the 3. And release time frame hopefully is going to be by the end of April. Now, as far as ultimately how that ends up rolling out to all the different e-tailers and everything, it'll be variable. We'll try to give you kind of up-to-date information as we're getting ready to push it out. But I think we just started to get these into our kind of inventory. So we're getting ready to kind of process them out. So in the not too distant future, hopefully within the next couple of weeks, you're going to get ready to see all of them push out in terms of availability. So let me go ahead and get this in here. Let's see. Jason's asking, what is the extension height range of the Herculex? I think it's up to 125 or 128 millimeters is going to be the height adjustment range. It's actually a pretty large amount in terms of actually how much you can go ahead and make an adjustment. That's correct. H2O is asking if the only one in white is going to be at this stage, the Wingwall. Right now, that is the only one that will come in 2 colors. The Wingwall will be in white and will be in black. For the Herculex and for the ROG Strix graphics card holders, those are essentially both kind of monochrome and black plus the RGB lighting. Robbie, I don't have price point for you at this point. Okay. And here's the page for the Herculex. Mark's asking which keyboard? Which one? I've got 2 here. This one is our ROG Falchion, but I have putting keycaps on here. This is our 65% wired and wireless keyboard, but I'm using it right now in wireless mode. And then this one right here is our ROG Strix Scope TKL. And it also has different keycaps on there that are really cool. These are kind of a semi-diffused smoke keycap that I have on there. And this is our TKL based keyboard. So you can see there's no 10 key. And I really love that it has this really cool RGB light bar on it too. All right. All right, so that is going to be the 3 graphics card holders. So next up, all right, let's go ahead and pick one more. So we've got, we're going to kind of combine together the preview a little bit on the GT502 and then the TUF Gaming aRGB fan. So let's go ahead and get ready to get into this. So let's go ahead and show these off here. So this is going to be our new upcoming aRGB fan. So I know a lot of people have been asking for it. So this is it right here. This is going to be the first one that we'll be offering as a standalone option. It will be available as a single fan, and then will also be available as a, I believe, a 3-pack fan configuration. And you can see it's a full aRGB based fan, has actually a nice anti-vibration based design. It is going to be a dual layered LED design, which means that that's going to be more LEDs than your traditional fan. Most fans, I'd say, kind of in the more entry segment, usually have somewhere between about 6 to maybe 9 LEDs. This will have 16 LEDs, and they'll be layered in a dual arrangement, which allows for more saturation and for more kind of flexibility in different types of patterns, right? So you'll also see right here that one of the really cool things is going to be that this fan does actually feature an integrated controller in the multi-pack that also will give you flexibility. If you don't want to have any software, you're going to be able to have multiple levels of adjustment to be able to create quite a bit more patterns than kind of the standard kind of lower cost controllers that are on the market. We spend a lot of time to try to be able to give a lot of patterns and configuration options for users in that regard. And so you'll get to see what that actual controller looks like here in a second. I think I have a picture of it. Yeah, or you can see here, you can go ahead and customize the brightness, you can customize the speed, the color, and then the different mode. And you'll see right there, there's the different inputs, right? So you could have multiple essentially fans connected to that single controller. And then that controller can also link back to the motherboard if you wanted to be able to have the ASUS Aura Sync functionality. In terms of the connections, you have a standard 4-pin base connection, and then you have your 3-pin aRGB connection. So they will work, of course, with ASUS products, but if you have a different manufacturer, motherboard, it will be fully compatible. So this is a full standard industry norm fan in that regard. It has full interoperability and compatibility. It means that also you can use the other lighting software for the other ecosystems if that is what you are utilizing. You're not going to be limited to having to use ASUS Aura Sync, right? Because you can use that. So we've tried to maintain the flexibility of not being kind of proprietary in that respect, right? So that is going to be the fan. Now I want to go ahead and let you see what it looks like in terms of installed. And I'm also going to talk about some of the cool design implementations that are going to be present on this fan. So let's go ahead and take a look right here. So the first one is going to be right here is that this uses what's called the fluid dynamic bearing, right? And so one of the really key things that a lot of people don't realize about a fluid dynamic bearing, right? A lot of the more entry fans that are on the market, their bearing is generally going to be some form of a sleeve or a ball bearing. And the difference that you're going to really have when you talk about kind of a sleeve or a ball bearing for the fan is going to be that the overall kind of, I'd say, lifespan and performance that you have in terms of the lifespan for the fan is going to be very different, and it's going to be much, much shorter. A sleeve bearing and ball bearing fans, they're going to be using anywhere between like 25 to maybe about 75,000 hours. Here you can see this is about 250,000 hours in terms of the rated lifespan. And another really key benefit that a lot of people don't kind of keep in mind for fans is that when you talk about a traditional sleeve bearing and a ball bearing based fan, is that their actual performance is variable in terms of its lifespan and even tonal characteristics depending on the position. Some fans are actually better suited to be used, let's say, vertically than they are horizontally. And if you actually change the orientation of the fan, you actually affect the lifespan of the fan. With an FDB bearing, it is pretty much operates about the same, whether you go with a horizontal position or whether you go with a vertical position. So it's really well suited for being used in different types of configurations. It doesn't really matter whether you're going to use it in a vertical orientation, so keeping it like this, or if you're going to go with a horizontal configuration. And even if you compare this to something like the more kind of refined kind of semi-hybrid bearings, like something like a rifle bearing, this is still much longer. Rifle bearings are sometimes 70 to 100,000 hours. And again, this is going to be 250,000 hours. So much, much longer lifespan in terms of its overall reliability and also durability, and also tonality wise. Something that other people don't realize is that as you maintain the operation of a bearing over time, tonally it becomes worse, and it'll actually get a little bit noisier. And FDB bearings hold their actually acoustics for a much longer period of time. One of really the best established companies that do use a similar type of technology, although it's slightly revised and refined, as they call it, or their SSO bearing, is Noctua. Noctua uses the same concept, but within a kind of specialized bearing design that they have. But the base concept of a fluid dynamic bearing is what you see there. And that's one of the reasons why they've been so well respected for their durability and tonality. So I'm really happy to be able to see that our fan is using this type of technology, first and foremost. So that dual array layer you can see right here is going to provide a really, really cool aesthetic in terms of just your granularity to the different types of patterns and the effects that you're going to have available to you, right? So that's going to be really, really cool. There you can see, of course, how that cable would connect in there and being able to make your adjustments. You'll also see right there that the actual controller is magnetic. A lot of the controllers that I've seen on the market are not magnetic, so that's nice that you can just kind of put it there on the back of your chassis, assuming that the chassis is steel, right, and not a different material, right, where you can go ahead and easily attach that. And this is the other really cool part. It will come in two variants. We will offer them in white and we will offer them in black. So you're going to be able to get the actual fans in black and in white. Tamagotchi, I'm going to be talking about the RPM in a little bit because that's another really cool benefit of this fan along with its CFM performance. So you will be able to go ahead and get this in white and you will be able to get it in black. Okay. And here are the RPM measurements. A lot of fans in this range, they're not going to go anywhere near as low, and they're not necessarily going to go as high. They're going to be actually quite a bit more compressed. Here, we really designed the fan to be able to give you a wide range, and we wanted really good tonality of it. So it's measured up to 29 dB. And of course, for most users, they really actually care about the range between usually about 400 to about 1200 RPM. That's going to be your sweet spot. But you can see here, we really tuned the fan to give you a lot of granularity to get really low and super, super quiet and slow, or be able to kind of max out and really give you that higher level of CFM performance. So 250 RPM all the way up to 1900 RPM. That's a really, really great range in terms of a fan. Hey, Michael, they do not come in 140 millimeter. 140 millimeter is a much smaller segment of the market. It's just not really that large in terms of the amount of people that use it. They also are not as, I don't think as valuable, because if you get a well-designed 120 millimeter, part of the value of going with 140 millimeter is that it's quieter generally, not really so much actually the benefit of airflow, which a lot of people think. So I think that you can pretty much achieve what you want with the 120 millimeter, but we may look at a 140 in the future, but right now, no 140s. So 250 to 1900 RPM. You can see the large anti-vibration pads to help to reduce any type of vibration that might be up against the chassis when you do install this, right? So overall, we've tried to look at a lot of different aspects of balancing out the fan. Again, it's not designed to be the absolute best in every single segment, but really trying to give you a reliable fan that's bright, well saturated, easy to connect, great reliability, good acoustics, right? And be a really great option for a wide range of builders, and also coming in that white and the black offering. And that magnetic base, I think, is going to cover a lot of bases for a lot of different users. And the other thing is that the actual CFM performance is actually quite a bit better than a lot of other fans in this kind of category, I would say, as well. So one of my favorite fans that we actually, that I recommend a lot for a lot of users, before we had our own aRGB fan, now with this TUF Gaming fan, was this one right here. This is the Cooler Master Sickle Flow, which actually uses a rifle bearing. So it's not as high end as the bearing that we use in terms of the FDB bearing. But this right here is going to have a lower CFM level than what we're going to be offering. So ours is going to be up to 79 CFM. A lot of the others are going to be lower. So, you know, it kind of really depends on the fan that you're evaluating, but I've seen RGB fans from, you know, good partners that might be less than 1 millimeter H2O in terms of the static pressure performance, right? It's not going to be as high as, let's say, as something that we're going to have, like in terms of pure static pressure, like the XF120 can go up to over 3, right? So that's going to be really, really focused. aRGB fans tend to not be the best in terms of static pressure performance. They can be kind of a good balance of having good airflow and good static pressure, but not outstanding static pressure. So there is kind of a balancing act in that regard. This is, I'd say, good in both respects. It's good CFM and airflow and good static pressure. It's best suited, I think, as a case fan, but can you use it? Yes. If you use like a sickle fan like this, which I've used on a radiator, you would even get a better experience. The static pressure is equal to the sickle flow. They're both rated at the same static pressure, but the airflow performance will be higher on the TUF Gaming fan. So, we've tried to look at kind of all the experiential elements and just try to give you kind of a good balance in terms of a lot of regards. So be coming out with this fan in the not too distant future, along with the pricing. Right now, we're just trying to finalize some last details, but that is going to be the TUF Gaming aRGB 120 millimeter fan. Let me see if we got any new questions that might have popped up right here. Geek Itch guy is asking, is the XF120 a good choice for radiator cooling? It's a very good choice because it's been designed for that. It's really a very good fan for case and general kind of airflow, but it's been specifically kind of tuned and optimized to give you also very good static pressure performance. Sneff has actually used it quite a bit in builds. He's he's had his chance to probably test about almost all the great fans that are on the market, and he's been a big fan of it. I will say that, if you like a good quality fan, Gentle Typhoon, if you like, Noctua, Be Quiet, the XF120 is a really nice fan option that I'd put within that kind of class of fans. That again, if you're looking for something that it's not aRGB, you just want a well-designed, good toned fan, that's a good choice. Okay. Thanks for that feedback, Snap. XF120 is one of the best fans on the market in his opinion. Very, very cool. All right. So now let's go ahead and just show you off a little bit here in terms of the GT502. So this is going to be our follow-up chassis to the very popular GT501, which the 501 still one of my favorite chassis. It's a great chassis to work in. We make it in white. We make it in black. It's got a lot of room and a lot of flexibility to be able to kind of set up your builds. It can work well for air-cooled builds. It works well for water-cooled builds. And while it's a little bit older, I still think it holds up really nicely in today's market. And I love that it has its own unique styling and design, right? And it doesn't look like everybody else's chassis. The GT502 is where we've seen that there's been a lot of popularity in terms of people wanting to have a split chassis design. So that is our kind of take on a split chassis design. So you'll see right here, split chassis means that it's a two compartment. So you have one side and then you've got another side, right? So pretty much you're leaving that one side very large and open to be able to give you a lot of flexibility for radiators, for fan placement, right? And then the other side to allow you to go ahead and mount all your other hardware, right? So your PSU, your cables, storage devices, all those other items. So you'll see that you have a lot of flexibility for room for the fans. And I'm not going to get into all the details because we'll have a dedicated stream and we'll have a dedicated breakdown on this chassis to go over all the details. This is just a little bit of a teaser to give you the confirmed name, GT502, right? And just kind of show you a little bit of how it is laid out. Some of you may already notice at the top that this will carry the hallmark of what's known for kind of the GT501, which is the handles. I love the handle design, that it's nice to be able to move your chassis around in terms of that and just give you more flexibility. You can just see a little bit of kind of different lighting patterns there set up with the fans that, of course, we're going to have here. And here's a little bit of that nice look for the GT502. So I also like that we spent a little bit of time just to add a little bit more of a silhouette and design to this part of the chassis, right? Historically, some of these duals don't always have the strongest front facade, I feel, which to me is important to try to have a little bit more of an identifiable characteristic. We're not going to show you what's going to go on here on the front. You see that we don't have this on here, so there's some stuff that we're hiding from you. You'll be able to see what it looks like in the end, which I think will be important to be able to create a little bit of a stronger identity to the product, so that if you do have it more from a front facade, and you're looking at it straight on, it has its own character, where sometimes I think some of the current split chassis designs, that's where they're a little bit weaker. They look best in their side profile, but not necessarily straight on, right? But you'll see right here, lots of connectivity, right? You got your standard USB, USB Type-C. You've got the TUF Gaming, a nice little RGB accent right there, right? You can probably already tell right there. Easy, of course, removal for the front panel with those nice retention clips. You'll see right there at the top, of course, your handles right there that keep things nice and easy. You can also tell that you'll have flexibility in the back for multi-fan base configuration. So 120 millimeter, 140 millimeter support in there. And what do you guys think right now on the GT502? Are you liking the look, right? Let's see right here. What do we have right here? Looking forward to building and the new GT502. Very cool. Thanks for your feedback, H2O. I love my GT501, but I've been waiting to see this. Very cool. Jason, thanks so much. I think it's a really cool chassis, and I think it's going to be a great fit for our TUF Gaming users. I'm sure that we'll probably see some ROG users probably taking a look at this chassis as well. But you can see, I think this really complements all the TUF Gaming hardware that we have out there. Snef, can't wait to mod in this beauty. I can't wait to see what you're going to be doing, and I'm sure we're going to be hooking you up with this chassis once we get ready to launch it, man. I'm sure you're going to be probably one of the first people to get this one. Sumin says it's a beauty. Thanks so much for the feedback right there. And Raphael says it's a sweet looking case. Looks great. Very cool. Hey, Tamagotchi, I would say in terms of the branding, right? I don't think it's very heavy. This is a soft inbox, and really the only branding you see is this right here, right? Any other branding that you see, that's whatever you add into the system, right? So it's going to either be visible if you add it in, or it's not going to be visible if you don't have those items. So that's going to be very much dependent on what you add in. And Dev also gives us, yep, it looks nice. Very, very cool. All right, so that is going to be the GT502. Somebody asked for the back. Don't have any other shots that I'm going to disclose at this time. I'm not going to show the rear, and I'm not going to show the other side because, like I said, this is only a little bit of a teaser. This is one of my favorite looks. I really like this look right here. I like this little bit kind of cool look, right? I also do like the feet. If you notice that you've got a little bit more of a lifted design right here with these little bit cutouts, which is nice to give you a little bit more actually intake airflow. Some of these other chassis have a little bit of a lower footprint where there's actually not as much space, right, to allow for more bass intake or exhaust, depending on how you end up setting up your fans, right? And then we've got that kind of classic kind of TUF Gaming accent color too there, right? All right, so that rounds out right there the GT502 preview. Hopefully you guys have liked this. I'm very excited about for when it comes out in the not too distant future. We're going to be probably looking at a Q2 timeframe for its release. And of course, as always, just make sure to keep it tuned to the PCDIY streams, to the PCDIY group to get the latest and latest information. Rest assured, as soon as we're getting ready to launch this, we're definitely going to be letting you know in terms of the community right here. Okay, very cool. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed that little bit of a quick preview on the GT502. I'm pretty sure it's probably the first place that we've shown it off, so you guys have been able to check it out if you were part of the group or part of this stream. So very, very cool. Jack, yeah, you can see right there from the layout configuration, no issues in terms of doing a 360 rad. So definitely this is going to be a chassis that's going to be purpose built for not only just standard, AIO coolers, but definitely for those that are looking for water cooling, that's going to be a fantastic water cooling chassis. So I'm sure when we get to work with some of our partners and our great community of modders like Snef and some other guys, rest assured, we're going to show you some great water cooling builds in this system. Arturo, not right now, but maybe we're going to be doing something when we get ready to launch this chassis. So as always, just make sure to go ahead and keep it tuned here. Snef's asking, any chance to have a white version like the GT501? Just going to have to wait and see. I can't tell you, but just make sure to keep it tuned, right? But I would agree, right? It would make sense, although it's a tricky balance, right? The GT501, I was really happy that we did come out with a white version of it because I think it was great, even though we generally don't offer TUF Gaming products in white, because I felt as a chassis offering, right, you should be offering an option to users in a white. Same thing, we're definitely talking about having that, but it's not 100% confirmed. But when we get ready to the launch, we'll be able to confirm the colors that we'll have available for the GT501, okay? And lastly, for 2022, we're not done yet. That's the GT502. But, you'll probably also maybe see some more details on the upcoming ROG ATX chassis, which if you want to see, guys, the teasers for it, you can check out the ROG Citadel game and app on Steam, and you can take a preview of that. And we may or may not maybe have another custom um, IP partner version of the Helios coming out. So for those of you that really like the Gundam edition, maybe we've got another version of the Helios coming out. So make sure to keep it tuned for that. And I can also tell you we're going to have the first Prime chassis coming out. And then so that will be very different than what we have for the ROG Helios or the Z11 or for the GT TUF Gaming series. So you're also going to have to make sure to keep it tuned for what we're going to be doing with our Prime series chassis. Okay, so that gets us covered there. All right. So I think that wraps it up in terms of our overall kind of just teasers. Like I said, not really any new products to introduce this week outside of just the teasers there on the TUF Gaming Fan and the TUF Gaming GT502. And then from there also jumping into, of course, our general updates. So from here, I think we are going to get ready to jump into our ASUS PCDIY Builders Spotlight and be able to showcase some cool builds. As always, if anybody has, of course, any questions on any other hardware or anything else, feel free to go ahead and ask at this time. Too much modding to do. I would not have enough time. I know. I can totally understand. Hey, Vandal, I didn't confirm the date 100% because right now we're still a little bit TBD, but for the ROG STRIX graphics card holder, for the Wingwall, and then also for the Herculex, all of them we're hoping to release them sometime later this month. So Q2, early Q2 approximate time frame in terms of when we're looking for the release. You can make sure if you're not, join our PCDIY group. You get the formal announcement as soon as we're getting ready to push it out there into the channel. I'm also going to be talking to our team that maybe as part of our launch, maybe we'll give away some of these graphics card holders for people that are part of our PCDIY group. So if you're not part of the group, make sure to join the group because I think it's going to be a cool little giveaway. I'm going to try to get some to be able to go ahead and give away to our community. Hey, Tamagotchi, no plans right now for a white Ryujin, but I know there's people that do want one, okay? Loki PSU, no updates at this time, but same thing, probably going to be late Q2 timeframe is what I'm probably looking at right now. Probably going to be aligning somewhere with the release of the 1600 watt Thor 2. Okay. All right. So let's get ready to go ahead and take a look at our builder spotlight. So let's see what we've got here for our first build. First build, I think, is going to be from Hypnotics, I believe, and this is going to be the Mando build. So with a name like Mando, that means it's probably going to have a little bit of Star Wars inspiration is probably what I'm thinking. So let's go ahead and take a look. All right, looking clean, interesting. Of course, we talked about a split chassis, and that's exactly what we have right here. Of course, with an ever popular Lanli 011 right here, and we can see we've got an ROG Strix board, ROG Strix graphics card. We have some streamer cables in there, of course, with the Mando fig in there, looking nice, clean, well executed. Layout's nice. Nothing to complain about here. This is a very nice, clean, well-executed build. I like the little bit of additional customization right there, of course, with the cooler. Let's go. I think he gave us one other image right here with the RGB. Oh, there we go. Took it up. I think definitely the prior color scheme fits a little bit more with the Mando vibes. This is a little bit maybe more kind of Empire kind of vibes right there with all the red, but it looks cool. And I actually like the dual color color zone that we have right here, where we've got the red, of course, for the fans, and then we've got RGB happening for the memory, and then we've actually got this really kind of cool blue little pattern that's happening right there for the motherboard and for the streamer cables, which is pretty cool too. So I think that gives a very kind of cool vibe. It looks different, looks distinctive, clean and well executed on the cable management side. I got no critiques here. Overall, it's a nice, clean, well-executed build, and he gets a thumbs up there for also, looks like he's probably rocking the ROG Scabbard in terms of his actual gaming mat right there too. So overall, a nice build. Let me go ahead and bring up his builder spotlight for him so that I can take a closer look and so we can check out his details. Let me go ahead and get his picture back up there. There we go. Okay, so let's see right here. This is, again, from Hypnotics, Nick. And see, does the build have a theme? Main goal was to put as much ROG as possible and keep it pretty much stock. Three words to describe the build was absolutely breathtaking. I think it's a great looking build, really cool. It's got a nice kind of dynamic theme, and I think you did a great job on the RGB. RGB gives it a nice kind of just different feel to it than I think your standards. Does the build have a name? Mando. Core components that he's rocking here in terms of the hardware, he's running a very high-end system with a Ryzen 9 5950X. He's got 32 gigabytes of Trident Royal memory that's in there. That's all running on an X570-E gaming motherboard. He's got, of course, an NZXT Kraken AIO cooler. He's got an ROG STRIX, a 3070 Ti in terms of the graphics card. He's got the Lanley SL120 fans, 9 of them in there, along with the Lanley streamer cables. That are all set up in there. And then that's all running off of a 1,000-watt ROG power supply. And then, of course, inside of the O11. Altogether, it was about $4,000 in for everything. He's happiest in terms of just kind of the system, the way that it came out in terms of the design concept and the LED placement. He's really happy with how kind of all the LED and the lighting got set up. And I would agree, spending the time to kind of go in and kind of tailor that and getting that really dialed in can be a really nice experience once you kind of get it set to exactly what you really are looking for. Took him about 2 hours to put the whole build together. That's actually really nice, even though this is a pretty easy to chassis to work with. And that's a nice turnaround time. He generally uses it for gaming, but he also does a little bit of streaming on there, likes to play some Call of Duty. He's also enjoying playing some GTA and then some Forza Horizon. Nice. His overall favorite feature is Armory Crate and Aura Creator in terms of not only being for system monitoring, but also for that RGB lighting and control. Overall, man, definite thumbs up, man. Nice job on the build. You definitely get a solid Team ROG and nice level of execution from me. Let's go ahead and see. Deb says some nice specs. I like that. Grogu's still in the Jedi chassis with Luke. H2O Computers is giving us a This Is the Way. Overall, nice looking RAM. Tamagotchi says you get a little bit of deduction because there's no Baby Yoda, but I still think it's a great looking build. All the way, really nice. Richard P says some great colors, and Michael also says nice job in terms of bring on the Beskar. I like that as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and see right here. Oh, let me see. That's an interesting question. So Joseph is asking right here. I have the Ryujin 362, so that means that already comes with Noctua IPPC fans. So very nice quality fans. Would you say the XF120 fans would be a good replacement for that unit to install aRGB fans to this cooler? So this one is right here. This is Ryujin 2. You can see the fans that I went with. Those are the Sickle Flow fans. I would say if you're going to go with aRGB fans, maybe wait for the TUF Gaming fans because the TUF Gaming fans are going to be even higher performance and better than these Sickle fans. But the XF120 are great fans. And do they actually offer some performance benefits over the Noctua fans? Yes. In terms of some elements, in terms of the operation, I would namely say it's going to be certain operating values within kind of the sweet spot of the Delta. But the IPPC fans are already so solid that I don't really know that you would see that much of a tangible difference in terms of the overall performance. So in my opinion, I wouldn't probably swap them because I think you already have very good quality fans that are present there. That's part of the reason why we spent time to co-partner with Noctua and implementing those for the Ryujin 2. But if you did want to swap out, it's definitely still going to be a very solid option. I just don't think it's worth it. For my opinion, I don't think that you need to change them out. That's correct. Yeah, Evo, the IPPC fans were designed a little bit kind of more as their kind of industrial-based use fans. So they were specifically tailored for certain kind of usage environments. They also generally had higher RPM ranges than what they would offer on their standard fans, where environments were essentially that weren't as critical on noise, but really kind of wanted to have the higher level of cooling performance would be fine with the higher level RPM. But as I noted, for most users, they generally are going to use their fans somewhere between about 600 to maybe about 1200 RPM. Some users might go a little bit more, maybe in that 1400, maybe 1600 RPM range. But a lot of users won't break 2000, 24, 3000 RPM, which can get pretty loud. And that's one of the kind of things that was focused on in the development of the IPPC based fans. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and go into our next build here. We've got a new build from one of our great members in our community, and he has gone with another just stunning build, and that is going to be from Justin Chu, and this is going to be, I believe, said tentatively no name, but he said I believe ModWorks would be okay if we wanted to use a name for it. So let's go ahead and take a look at this one. And this was one that I was pretty excited for because he was using actually one of my favorite chassis. It's a chassis that I actually personally had in the TJ07, and you know, I had off and on discussions with Charles Hodwood and the Xforma team in the past. An amazing individual, and of course, if you don't know about the history of Xforma and you don't know about $1 Million PC and everything that they've done to really be an amazing kind of pillar for the modding community and for really setting, I think, a benchmark for a long time in terms of what kind of premium, high quality builds would look like, then you know you want to spend a little bit of time to find out really what they've contributed to PC DIY and modding in general. So let's see here. He went ahead with the board. So we got a Maximus Z690 Extreme, same board that I have right here. We can see that we've got some beautiful EK water cooling hardware there with the Velocity block, right? Got some blocks there for the GPUs. We got this really nice NVLink bridge that's also going to be utilized right there. We can see here we've got the Xforma chassis that's present here. 2 GPUs, got the board installed. We're going to see that, of course, it's going to be in an inverted position. So that means it's going to definitely have a different look than what you would traditionally expect for a standard build, right? And bam, here we can see now we're starting to see it come together. So we've got some beautiful, of course, chrome tubing right there. Already we can see some nice customization right there with J Custom right there, his logo. We can see, of course, that GPU going in, of course, with that nice integration, which is part of the block design that is present on that FE-based card, which is really cool. It allows you to kind of have that perpendicular base effect, which I think it looks really cool. Beautiful lines right here. We can see, of course, that beautiful design element within the Xforma, which gives you that beautiful under soft diffuse lighting effect, right, which just flows up and just gives it nice breathing room, which I think looks fantastic. We can see that he did install the dim.2. That's the one advantage right here if we got with this hardline build is make sure to get everything in there that you're going to want to get in because it might be a little bit tricky. You could probably still do it, fit in your hand in right there to take the dims out or take out the dim.2, but you're going to have to get all that stuff installed in there, right? We can see we've got the OLED live dash display visible. Now we've got the top right there. Okay, beautiful, nice cables. I love the two-tone touch right there. Of course, Xforma Mark II. Nice bridges, excuse me, combs. And the back, always nice to see the back included there. Nice clean cable management. Of course, that's going to be really flexible in terms of the way this chassis has been designed. And of course, with custom cables, I wouldn't expect anything less. And now here we can see a bigger shot of it and very, very nice, right? This is looking super clean, really well executed. Of course, I wouldn't expect anything less than from Justin. And a nice little shot pulling out a little bit more. Of course, we can see all the cables routing right there. We've got both of the the EPS-based power connectors, right? We've got there for the GPU. Those are all running in there in the back. Then we've got the side for the motherboard. Now, this is an interesting thing that some of you, I'd love to get your feedback, and even individuals like Sneff or other people. A lot of people always ask, we want more right angle connectors. And I can tell you right here, this probably was not easy to do because it's a right angle connector. And part of the reason why we've tested it, I think the first right angle connector motherboard that we did might be more than 5 or 6 years ago. 6 years ago, might even be more than that. But we've been always very temperamental on wanting to kind of implement it. And the reason why is because you actually increase the likelihood of having mechanical conflicts. Because depending on the way the chassis is laid out and other factors, you can run into Z height clearance issues where it can be hard to kind of get it in. That's one. And then also there can be spacing issues depending on the way that the chassis is laid out, where it's just not necessarily ideal. When you actually go with the standard orientation, even though some people think it doesn't look as clean, actually, I like the nice little arch bend that it creates. That is usually going to be easier to deal with than a flat connector. So I'd like to see some people's feedback and see what they think, but that is one of the challenges that we do have. I don't see anything here lit up yet for the enemy matrix display, so I don't think the system was turned on, but let's see what it looks like. So here we have the full system on display. I love the look of this chassis when you get to see your radiator and your fans down there at the bottom. Overall, really clean, classy, elegant, beautiful build. I think it looks fantastic. I love just the black, the chrome, the little bit of the accent colors that we have there that is all playing off. I'd love to see what the lighting values were. I don't think that we don't have any other images. So I don't have any other images if you had it turned on at what the RGB lighting theme would be if we're going maybe with a white to add just a little bit of fill lighting, or if actually we have maybe another accent color that would be present there that I think could be kind of interesting. Because this lighting zone you'll see right here, like on our board, it does light up. So if you guys can actually see right here, you'll watch this area. There's a nice little soft RGB. So he would get a little bit RGB lighting in that section. Then plus he has this cool entire area that he could play around with. And he can do something with the anime matrix display. And then you're going to have the lighting from the dims, right? So I'd be interested to see what ultimately that looks like. But let's go ahead and take a look at the submission form and also see what what you guys say out there in terms of this build from Justin. So let me go ahead and open up the submission form. Okay, got the submission form right here. And let's see what we hear. Evo says, a really impressive build. So H2O agrees. I think having a few select boards like what we have with the right angle is the way to go. That's my opinion when I'm talking with our design team on our design of our motherboards. I don't consider it on all. Actually, right now, we generally only reserve it for our highest end boards. Our perspective is that generally as users adopt into the higher end kind of extreme segment, they're more willing to take the time to either understand the design challenges or make sure that they're picking hardware to best kind of suit towards that type of potential configuration. And we generally don't go with right angle for more of the entry level or the mid-range or even kind of the entry high end, as contradictory as that might sound, so something like a Hero, because we want to try to make sure that the compatibility is going to be as strongest as it can, because it's going to be more broadly adopted across a wider set of users. So Joseph gives us a little bit as I agree, 90-degree connectors can be a challenge. I needed one for my build, but having one for the motherboard main power, for example, wouldn't have worked with the case. So I'd have to say those connections are really a hit or a miss. Yeah, I would agree. Yep. Okay, so let's go ahead and I can feel, David, I love that comment. I can feel the passion for this build. Very cool. Yeah, I definitely agree. So let's go ahead and take a look here and see at the submission form. So as we know, builder here is Justin2. You can go ahead and make sure to check out his Instagram, jchu5664. And it was a sponsored build. Let's see, does the build have a theme? No theme, just clean. I uploaded, he uploaded some aspect ratios. Hopefully those worked out. Pictures worked out fine, no problems, man. I think that they looked great. Beautiful photos as always. Thank you so much. 3 words to describe the build. Stealth mode on, I would agree. While this, does have a little bit kind of I think some bold and bright contrast because of the chrome. It definitely has a stealthy vibe to it, but it also has, I think, a really elegant and visible vibe, which is nice because it's not super kind of blacked out, right? You do really have areas that you can clearly see, and there's nice visibility that are there. Does the build have a name? No particular name, but ModWorks will do. Core hardware that we have in here, of course, it's a Z690 Extreme. It's got 2 3090 FE cards in there, of course, with the blocks. Then he's got an Inland Pro 8 terabyte NVMe drive, 2 of them. So he's got 16 terabytes of space in there, plus 2 Samsung 982 terabytes. That's 4 terabytes. So guys, that's clocking in 16, 2 and 2. So he's running 20 terabytes of PCIe NVMe storage in that. Then, of course, the X-Forma with a lot of customizations and tweaks, a custom EK loop pretty much throughout all there, and then a 1300 watt. And he says that he actually will be updating this to a Thor 2 1600 watt once it actually comes out. No budget for the build. He tried to keep this build super simple. The back panel, CNC slab is probably the most significant thing that he wanted to be able to do. He wanted to really kind of maintain a delicate feel throughout there. Excuse me. He wanted to dedicate this build to his friend who ran ModWorks as a hobby, but in a subtle way. That's really cool, man. I think a tribute build is always really, really cool. And that's a great thing to be able to do, man. So I take my hat off to you. That's really nice of you. I believe due to a tough medical situation, he's no longer around to continue to do the amazing builds he used to. Yeah, that's That is a tough and challenging situation. So being able to kind of have that kind of homage and that respect to that individual, especially for somebody that was a really big RG fan, man, that's really cool. And for me, just affirms why I think that we have the most amazing kind of community members that are out there. PC DIY enthusiasts and the modding community and the building community is really an amazing group of individuals. So that's awesome to see. He actually really wanted to do an X-Forma build at some point, so I can see. So that's kind of your way to paying that tribute, to be actually seeing that kind of X-Forma build go from being something they really hope to kind of be able to see and achieve, and then now coming full circle and being able to kind of do that as a tribute. That's awesome. The build specs will change as hardware always comes and goes, but that will be part of the case, will always be there. And that's actually very similar kind of how I treated my TJ07. I think I kept my TJ07 for almost a decade because I loved it and it was so versatile, and I just didn't want to change it out for the longest time. I wish anything they would maybe change, maybe consider going with the 3090 Ti, and then of course maybe a Glacial. But overall, he's really, really happy with this being a baseline for his hardware configuration. Right? Took him about 2 months off and on in terms of getting everything together. Pretty much just use it as a daily driver for pretty much all kinds of stuff, and he absolutely loves the ASUS UEFI BIOS. It thinks it's just overall great in terms of the overall experience. Also, man, all the way around, I think a fantastic build. And now knowing, Kellen, really what was at the heart of the build and kind of your inspiration, for me, even kind of makes it that much better. So really, really, really cool. That's really, really cool to be able to see that you did. Joseph says build was absolutely stunning, and very, very cool, man. I would be so happy. I would agree. I think a lot of people would be really happy with that. Okay. Oh, some feedback from Sniff. Prefers a normal connector. I think a good cable and add a bit to the final result. Yeah, I really agree with you, Sniff. And actually, in your build that we're going to be taking a look at, I think it shows off that. I like being able to see that cable a little bit more, kind of that round out connector. I think when you use that as kind of part of your build, it's just another way to kind of show kind of some cool look and feel to your system. So I think almost hiding away the cable, in a weird way, it takes away sometimes from it, right? But it all depends on what you're trying to see. So I would agree there. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into our next build right here. This is from Akim, I believe. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. Akim, another great member of our PC DIY community here. He made some tweaks and updates to his setup. And for me, maybe one of my favorite setups from anybody in the PC DIY group that has shared. He is a true ROG fan and an enthusiast, and I love the way that his build turned out. You can see he's got a really, really cool setup, everything from ROG monitor to, of course, the desk mat right here with the sheath. He's got, I believe this is the Keris wireless. Then he's got the flare. He's got the Delta headset, a Z11 in there, which he's now upgraded to the Ryujin 2 cooler. And you can also see right there, ROG graphics card, all set up in a really, really cool vibe. I love the aesthetic and the layout. And of course, he's even got his ROG phone there with Army Crate and X mode and everything all set up. Really, really cool in terms of the overall look and feel right here, right? So let's go ahead and take a closer look. And he's even got the little ROG, of course, Lego accessory right there, which is looking pretty cool. I love right here, he's got his Z11. He's got it in the vertical orientation. Keep in mind the Z11, you can run it in both orientations. You can go vertical or you can go horizontal. He's got his ROG Aerion right here, so the M.2 SSD. So that's a cool little way to kind of show off your M.2 SSD. And now a closer look with the side panel off. You can see he's got the graphics card installed. That's an ROG 30 series Strix card in there with the Ryujin 2 with a customized animation in there. I think that's the same one that I've got right here on my Ryujin 2 that he's got in there. He's maintained it with the original fans that it came with the Noctua IPPC-based fans in there. It's got some nice DIMMs in there, RGB memory, nice, clean, tidy, well executed in terms of the cable management. Of course, not Flare. He's got the Claymore 2, excuse me. So definitely one of my favorite keyboards. And he's gone ahead and switched, the numpad to the right-hand side, which is great. And then, of course, nice cable management here, taking advantage of the space that we give you in that Z11 there. Of course, using the aRGB and the fan controller that comes included with the Z11. Of course, nice little shot there of his Delta headset. Yep, and that's the Keris wireless. Overall, that's a great setup. I love the way that this setup turned out. Really cool build and a great looking setup. No, that's not a tablet. It's his phone. That's a ROG phone, and he's just got it running in sideways, and that's with the little dock that's available right there. Yeah, it just needs a chair now, right? Maybe the Chariot, or maybe we might have something new come in. I can't tell you what it may or may not be, but maybe you sit in it. I don't know. You just have to watch out. Maybe we might become something out. Just have to wait and see, guys. All right, let me go ahead and bring up his submission form here, and we will take a look at the details. Let me go ahead and get this up. Okay, great. Here. Okay, so not his first build. Does the build have a theme? I think you can pretty clearly see that the theme was ROG. 3 words to describe the build is beast, powerful, and ROG. No name. Would you guys give it a name? What do you guys think would be a name? I don't know, man. This is, I don't know. Maybe, you know, it'd be kind of cool. Maybe is naming it maybe naming it after one of the ROG characters, because there's so much ROG love that's in this build. So, you know, you could do like calling it Horseman, you could call it Seven, you could call it Omni, you could call it PKD, call it ACHT. I don't know. You know, we've got different characters. That could kind of be kind of cool, right? And I think form factor wise, it could fit with one of the characters that's smaller. So I think that's kind of a cool vibe. So maybe consider that as the name, right? In terms of the hardware, pretty much rocking ROG across the board. He's got tons of hardware here, everything from a Claymore 2 to an ROG STRIX Scope RX, the Keris wireless, the Delta headset, the Cetra 2, which are our actual in-ear monitors. He's also got the Sheath Electro Punk mouse pad. He's got the Sheath Black limited mouse pad that he's also got there. And then in terms of his rig, his primary rig, Ryzen 9 5900X, 32 gigabytes of memory, a 3080 Strix card, the Ryzen 240, 750 watt power supply, the Z11 chassis, on a B550-i gaming mini ITX board. Then he's got 3 additional Noctua fans that are in there, and that's all powering that ROG XG32VQ 144 hertz 32-inch monitor. And then you can see from some of the other items there, he's got the ROG Strix Aerion M.2 SSD. He's also got an ROG backpack, phone, the docking station, and the Kunai gamepad. So pretty sweet. Oh, he's even got the ROG IKEA mug, which is out there. Overall, total budget for his build, just shy of $5K, $49.87. He really loves the way that the ROG 2 got upgraded and built into the system, which I think it looks great in there. Anything that he would change about the build? No. This is my end game PC setup, and I'm really satisfied with it. I love the ROG theme, and this will be my last submission for the PCDIY Builder Spotlight, since I'm not going to be upgrading anymore. I think it's really cool. I know a lot of us, sometimes we're always going through kind of those changes and upgrades, and it's great when you kind of finally get to that point that you've got your system done, and you're happy, and you're just enjoying it, right? You're not spending time tweaking it. You're not overclocking it. You're not changing settings. You're not upgrading hardware. You're just using it and enjoying it. So, man, I really hope that you get to use this for a long time and you enjoy it. The performance, the features, the setup, it's a great system that I hope you have a great experience with for years to come, man. It took him all together about 1 year to be able to get everything that he wanted to get and all set up in this system. And that's really cool, man. And thank you. Thank you so much for your patience and your support, man. So what does he use it for? For pretty much study, work, rendering, and Valorant. And he absolutely loves Armory Crate. That's his favorite feature in terms of course, I'm sure, being able to monitor everything, customize the RGB lighting, and kind of make just changes to the whole setup, everything there. Richard gives it a nice thumbs up for retro vibes. Nathan's asking, what's the keyboard? That is actually the ROG Claymore 2. I think he gave us a picture right there, so I can show you close up here. Yeah, that's the Claymore 2, which we offer. I love this keyboard. It's really cool because, of course, it's wired and wireless TKL. So you can remove the numpad altogether, or you can move it to the left-hand side, or you can move it to the right-hand side. So, and it uses our RX optical switches. That's the keyboard that he's got right there. And again, the Ryzen 2, that's right there, what he is rocking right there for the AIO. You see right here? We got a beautiful setup and nice job right there. Very, very cool. All right. Really, really nice. Thanks so much for submitting, man, and happy that you finally reached your end game setup. Okay. And let's go over to our next build. So this is going to be, let me see here. No name, and this is from Mahmoud. I believe Mahmoud. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that right, Mahmoud. So I'm hoping that I'm getting that correct there. So let me go ahead and just bring up your submission form right here. All right. Ooh, interesting. So we got kind of a semi-open frame. Got an interesting kind of setup right here. Okay, so let's see what we got going on. All right, so this is of course in the torque chassis. I really like the two colors in terms of having two colors along with this really nice white to be able to kind of just give us some color play and some color blocking. We can also see that we've got another builder here with the Maximus Extreme board. So this is a Maximus Z690 Extreme, looking pretty cool. And here we can actually see it with the side panel on. That still looks really cool. You can actually see right here the Barotech box fish. This is a pretty cool design right here, which actually gives you that information for the temp, right? And also has that RGB lighting integration in there right there. I like actually the touch right here to go with your fittings that are in white. So giving you a little bit of kind of secondary point of color contrast. I do think that that works, tying in that white also that you see here with the white of the chassis. I'm wondering though, would I have carried that through with white also on some of these other fittings as opposed to what you got right here with the black? But I think it works. I think actually maybe the white right here might have pulled away a little bit from the color that you have within the block that you're trying to highlight. So actually I do think that you made the right choice to keep these darker right here. Always a little bit torn when I see something cover kind of dims like this in this type of design, but I still think it works well. And I like that you still left visibility over for the actual anime matrix display. So making that run come up right here. The bends look nice and clean and well executed. Like this little secondary shot. And even for being an open frame chassis, not always the easiest in terms of working for cable management. Cable management is well done and pulled off well. You can see really minimally, not dealing with kind of anything that really is causing any kind of areas of obstruction. So nice thumbs up in that regard. I think it came out nice. It's a little bit bummer that we miss out on that RGI right there because of this just side bracket, but that's just the nature of the chassis, right? Overall, very cool build. I like the way it changed out. Excuse me, I like the way that it came out. Clean, well executed. I like the color play that we have on here. And I also like even the RGB lighting. I think the RGB lighting is interesting because you're going with colors that are thematically present there. So you get the yellow that comes in here, blue that comes in here. You get the kind of the synthwave purple and pink that kind of plays off of everything else. And then you've got this black that's based around there. Yeah, I like it. I think it definitely works. Michael says he's got some solid bends in there. Yeah, not that many bends that I see in there. Most of these are pretty straight lines, but yeah, I mean, this one is still a good bend right there. It's well executed. Richard definitely likes the colors. He thinks that they came out really awesome. Yeah, I would agree. Overall, really cool. Let's go ahead and take a look and see here at his submission form. So does the build have a theme? Yes, it was one of the builds that I built for a customer. 3 words to describe the build. Great performance monster. Okay, hey, we can go with that. Does the build have a name? There's currently no name. So he'd like your feedback, guys. What should the system be called? What would you guys name it if it was maybe your system? In terms of the hardware that the system is running, it's a Core i9-12900K. It's a Maximus Extreme, of course, Z690, 32 gigabytes of G.Skill, 6,000 CL40 MT memory. Then we've got a 3090 ASUS EKWB graphics card. That's pretty nice. Those are pretty rare. We don't produce those anymore. So he was actually able to get the water-blocked ASUS 3090 card. Samsung 980 terabyte drive in there, and that's all inside of the Antec torque chassis that we've got. Excuse me, the torque chassis. $7,500 is terms of the total budget. He really absolutely loves the motherboard. He thinks the Maximus Extreme is a fantastic board. Anything he would change about the build? No. Took him about 1 day. Well, 1 day in terms of total hours. So 26 working hours. It's pretty much used for gaming. So God of War, Resident Evil 3, Resident Evil Village, some eFootball. He really loves the ASUS UEFI BIOS. So overall, man, I think it came out nice. I'm wondering, did you end up using some of the functions on the Extreme? So I don't see the dim.2 installed in here. I'm wondering if you use the integrated aRGB fan controller. And I can't see right there if you use the water cooling headers. But of course, you've got some monitoring that's already happening in here. So I'm wondering if you did end up using those. But overall, man, thumbs up. Nice job and clean and well executed. And Geekbench Guy submits his name as he thinks Optimus. Evo says maybe you could name it something in the Gundam theme. He thinks it's kind of like Gundam. H2O's maybe Robotech. I kind of like that. Yeah, that's kind of fun. All right. Very cool. All right, let's go ahead and jump into our next build. All right, so we've got our last build right here. This is going to be, of course, from one of my favorite absolute builders in the game and somebody that I really respect. Super humble, innovative, creative guy, the one, the only, as you guys know, Mr. Sniff from Sniff Design. He's got another build, and one of my favorites. I always say that about Snuff's builds, but he always keeps doing it, man. He's got really, really great kind of color theory, which I think is a great thing to his builds. Great photos and always really creative kind of takes at kind of working with different types of chassis, different types of layouts, and of course, bringing his kind of customization and experience to the table. So let's go ahead and take a look right here. He's using, of course, one of the new Fractal Torrent chassis. I love these chassis. I think they look really cool. I love the kind of their airflow focus. Fractal Designs always has a really cool kind of layout and design aesthetic, making their chassis pretty nice and easy and flexible to work with. So let's go ahead and take a look right here. And bam, let's go ahead and see what we got. So first things, we can tell that this is going to be a small form factor build, which I'm always interested to see kind of the approach. I went ahead and actually included a couple of the behind the scenes photos because I felt it was cool to be able to see this before just the beautiful photos that he has of the end game, because I think it's important to show how he got there, right? And so here you can see he's got the mini ITX board, but this is not, it doesn't come in this color because, of course, it being Sniff, what did he do? He's known to always be sometimes customizing our hardware and going in different colors. So he custom painted this. You can see he even custom painted the daughter board card, custom painted the shroud right here, gets it going, of course, matching without that throughout the chassis design, got that nice Team Force in white, along, of course, with the monoblock, which is cooling the VRM and the CPU, right? And I think that already starting to lay the foundation, right? You can see a nicer Kleist look. That it pretty much looks like it was produced that way, which is a credit to him, where he does a really great job on these custom painting and the custom kind of colors that he does to a lot of our products. And you can see, he's laying out the the layouts right here. You can see already the distro in there, the radiator, the fans, going with even slim base fans, because this is going to be a tight fit. This is not going to be the easiest build, right, in terms of getting it all to fit in there. So I'm sure that he had to kind of think, how am I going to lay this all out and make it work, right? Here we can see a little bit of a next stage in there at taking a look at how it's going to be laid out. So again, we've got the block, you've got your fittings in there. He started to put in the cables. And here you can see where I was talking about that the header not being a right angle, right, but actually being vertical. You can see he's got a really nice bend in there, going with those combs. That in itself becomes a nice little focal point of visibility, which I think is going to show the color theory that he's going to be pushing in, which we can see here. We've got white, we've got gray, silver, orange, and white being kind of our core color schemes, along with, of course, a little bit of base black and some of those components for contrast, right? And now let's get ready to jump into the next part. And bam, there we go. Now, of course, it's finished and it's done. And I think it came out fantastic. Beautiful looking build. I love here. He's using actually some really interesting, he's got offset fittings in here as well to be able to lay things out in an interesting angle and an interesting perspective, which I think is cool. So it doesn't necessarily even have that same kind of lines, and also frees up from having to do certain bends, but he's got actually a nice balance of stuff, right? He's got the offset fittings, then he has the bend that he throws in over here, and then he's got this other nice little line that goes over it and goes into this distro. And while it does cover the DRAM, I love this overall kind of just simple, elegant kind of layout, that there's only three runs that you see in here, right, in this kind of compact build, but it kind of works together to create kind of this cohesive kind of Trinity feeling, which I think looks really cool and has a really, really nice aesthetic, right? You can see, of course, he made a change to the fans there from the other fans that we saw in the prior kind of laying out stage, right? But you can see everything's all laid out in there now, looking really nice and clean and beautifully executed. So now, giving it just a little bit of a shot, you can see at a different angle, we got this little bit of silver color play going on in there. I love the orange right here. This is beautiful. These look great. I love this as just being a nice little accent, right? So Sumin already says an awesome build. Michael says nice color choice. I agree. Yellow and orange. He previously just did a gold build. Those are all really some of my favorite colors. I really love that kind of color palette. I also really love purple. Red and black are also a classic combo that he's done beautifully, and I really love, especially from the history of ROG. But personally, some of my favorite colors are yellow, kind of orange. I really like that kind of vibe. So I really like the way that this turned out. And just super tight in terms of getting this all laid out in there, right? And now you can see here a little bit of the lighting, and we're getting some really nice color play in here, right? Where you can see this nice little frosted out kind of orange there in the back, a little bit of the orange here, and then there's this nice soft white accent, just giving a little bit of a glow in there. I think looks beautiful. I love this line right here up at the top. Looks really nice. H2O giving us a thumbs up. Looks great. Well done, Snef. Right? Oh, no problem, man. Fantastic. I love the way it turned out. And here, I think probably one of the final shots, right? It just, I think, came out really nicely. I love that you added in just a little bit of light to give a little bit of shine here to this area where normally this would look all blacked out and you wouldn't kind of notice it. But because he painted it, you have a little bit kind of this silver that kind of pops a little bit. And then you have this little grill. So it gives it kind of this cool little vibe of kind of something that's there, right? That little bit of a vented feel, which I think is pretty cool. So that little light, subtle accent, and also just other things. I don't know if everybody noticed, but I'm pretty sure these, Snef, if you can tell me, are these custom? Did you go with custom screws, or did you get different screws? Because I don't think these are the screws that probably come in the Torrent, because they look nice and they complement kind of the rest of the vibe and the feel of the system. So just kind of another little detail that you kind of threw in there that just kind of take it to the next level, right? And then here, maybe my favorite shot. I really like this shot where you got the white, but what do you guys think? Do you like this color, or do you like with it in the orange? This is my favorite shot. I absolutely love the way that it turned out right here. This is my favorite, with that orange accenting, that I just loved kind of the little bit of the warmth that it adds in, gives it just a little bit kind of a more tech kind of feel to it that I think, I mean, the white was very technical and kind of classy and clean, but I just love this little bit of additional warmth that this brings in and plays against the silver tones that are in there, along with the white and gray. Just really beautiful looking build. And I can imagine kind of in the nighttime, that this has a really, really cool kind of subtle feel right next to you and kind of a little that amber glow. So it looks like everybody says, Suman says with the orange, and Michael also says with the orange as well. H2O also says with the orange for sure, right? Supa with Geekbench Guy, I would agree. I think they both look great. The white looks fantastic, but I really love the way that the orange turned out. And again, it just kind of plays off things really, really nicely in terms of the overall look and feel, right? Dave says he also agrees, and JC is thrown out right there. Oh, hey, JC, also thanks for coming, man. Two great builds from both of you in this stream. So thanks so much for submitting, guys. Fantastic. Throwing some love from JC to Snap. So let's go ahead and take a look here at the submission form. Give me 1 second to pull it up. And give me 1 second, just get this submission form up here. All right. All right, there we go. And let's see what we got right here. All right, so of course this is from Snef, and if you guys aren't already checking him out on Instagram and Facebook, make sure to go ahead and do that. You'll see some amazing builds and amazing kind of behind the scenes content. And he's also part of our PCDIY community, a great guy, really knowledgeable when it comes to, of course, PC building and modding, really one of the best in the game. Does your build have a theme? There wasn't really a theme. That's hard to me when you have something that looks so good that doesn't have a theme, but I think that just shows that the execution and kind of the thoughtfulness behind the build is always at the core of his building experience, that he just wants the overall thing to look well. Whatever kind of the goal is, it's going to come out polished, clean, and well executed. 3 words to describe the build: clean, tight space, and pure white. Definitely, yeah, with so much of that white in there, the great thing is that you can play around with the colors, which right now he picked orange. But, if you would have gone clear, you could have really kind of gone in any direction, right? Because with the RGB, you could have gone purple, you could have gone green, you could have gone blue, you could have gone anything, and had that white and that gray be a kind of a contrast and a complementary color that would have worked out really, really nicely. No name for this build. Core hardware, this is a pretty high-end build, even though it's a small form factor system. We've got a Crosshair 8 Impact running with a Ryzen 7 5800X, then also a RX 6800 XT, so very beefy high-end graphics card, 16 gigabytes of Team Group Extreme aRGB white memory, and then two 1 terabyte Team Group NVMe SSDs. That's all powered from an 850 watt power supply, custom cables that he's gone ahead and installed in there. And then, of course, that custom distro and reservoir, which, of course, is that beautiful piece right back there, which you can see that is custom done by Sniff to be able to fit into this chassis specifically and be able to complement the look and feel. The Bits Power Full Coverage block, which is this block which covers both the VRM components as well as the CPU. So that's a great choice, especially for a small form factor build. All EK fittings right there. Dark side 240 millimeter radiator, which is I believe this radiator right up here. And right there, also an XPC ultra slim radiator down here at the bottom. So that's going to be a thin radiator. And then three Silverstone 120 millimeter white aRGB fans, and then two Thermalright slim aRGB fans. So I'm assuming that's these guys, probably Sniff, right? Thermalright is one of the few companies, and these are pretty recent. I think they only came out with these like in the last 6 months. There's not that many companies that make thin aRGB fans, so that's actually kind of cool to see that you use them in this chassis, right? So what was the budget? All the hardware is provided, right? So, whatever the cost of the hardware would have been. What aspect of the build, how he was able to keep it really clean and not necessarily overpacked, especially with the two radiators and that really cute custom distro. Yeah, it's quite impressive, all the stuff you were able to lay out and not have it look overpacked, which I would 100% agree, and still give visibility, which is why I say I was impressed with just the 3 bends that you've got in there. Anything that would maybe change up about the build? 4 black screws on the pump. Okay. And these right here, maybe change out those screws. Okay. And let's see what else right here. Took about 35 to 40 hours. Very impressive. But of course, we've got a pro at work in here. System's pretty much used for Netflix and gaming, Call of Duty, Destiny 2, and Rainbow Six Siege. Favorite feature kind of this build here in terms of ASUS, the Crosshair 8 Impact, one of his favorite X570 motherboards, and of course all the features that you really get with an Extreme Series board. So much performance and feature set. Plus you've got that cool little daughter board, right, which you get to plug in right there, which gives you some nice flexibility in terms of working with everything. Overall, another fantastic build from Sniff, of course, just great. AJC, man, happy to have you here on the stream, and a fantastic build and a really, really cool tribute, man, to ModWorks, man. So thank you so much for submitting that. Evo gives us a clean AF. I definitely agree. And Evo throws up and also a perfect, man. So overall, guys, thanks so much for joining us for another ASUS PCDIY hardware stream and a PCDIY builder spotlight. Some really beautiful and amazing builds again. So awesome way to be able to end out the week. So with that, guys, we're going to be wrapping things up. Hopefully your week is ending out on a positive, productive footing, and you guys are ready to enjoy a great weekend. As always, stay safe, stay healthy. Hopefully I'll see you in the ASUS PCDIY group and community, which is going to be linked in the actual chat as well as in the description. So if you're not part of that group and you wanted to submit your build, make sure to go ahead and join us in the group in the community. If you got questions about building, about upgrading, about hardware, about whatever it might be, I'd love to be able to see you there. We've got a great set of community members there to be able to also give you feedback and perspective, including actually some of the builders that we showcase here, including both Justin as well as Sniff. So with that, guys, take care, take it easy, enjoy the rest of your day, and see you on the next stream.